by Rurikon for another episode of the Mythic Banter. Rurikon, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing terrible, bro. Very stressful week. Things aren't going well, and then I'm playing a very hard game at the same time. Things are rough, man. I've been playing first Berserker Kazan, and at the same time,
is it actually hard?
It's challenging. It's challenging. It'll kick your ass a little bit.
Is it Souls-like?
It is a Souls-like. Yes, it's kind of like
right.
It's a mixture of Sekiro and Nioh. But, you know, okay. I'm coming to grips with it a little bit better. I'm getting a little bit better at it. But mostly it's just been a stressful week because problems with my kid at school. It's the worst type of problems, bro. Wow. It's the worst. Actually, the worst.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been playing Atomfall. I had a choice yesterday between either First Berserker Kazan or Atomfall. And I was like, let's try Atomfall first, and then we can play First Berserker Kazan.
What is Atomfall? I have heard nothing. So, I mean, I've heard about the game, but I've seen nothing about it at all.
So, dude, it's amazing. Like, holy crap. Okay, so the guys that made this, I can't even remember the name now, but I watched a video of them talking about Atomfall and what their plans are for it. This is like a game made through experimentation. So the whole goal of the game is to try and see how much they can innovate on every single system in a game. You know, from how enemies react, how enemies operate, the AI of enemies, to world building, storytelling. So here's the game. You start up the game and you have 5 different difficulty settings. And then you have a custom difficulty setting where you can literally change everything from how aware enemies are to how passive they are and all the rest of it.
So right from the get-go, I already don't like that. I don't like that at all.
No. But listen closely. I play on Survivor, which is the recommended difficulty. Because it's not really going from hard or easy or anything like that. For example, when you beat an enemy with a cricket bat, 3 hits is dead. Like, no matter what the difficulty, 3 hits is dead. Headshot, dead. Immediately. Unless they have hate gear, the headshot kills. But here's I don't even think they have hate gear in this game. Because you'll understand when you play the game, these people have been sort of out of the loop for such a long time that things like armor and shit like that doesn't exist, right? You can't have it in the zone. You're sort of just your weapons, the clothing that you have on your back, and there you go. But on Survivor, the game has no quest markers, no map markers, no little trail that tells you where to go next. Where you go, there's a potential for stuff to happen. You'll gather notes, and the note will tell you, if you find this, I've already left, but go to this location. I've buried some goods for you there. Meet me here, right, afterwards. And then you just have coordinates, and you have to go onto the map. And on the one side, it has the one set of coordinates. On the bottom, that it has the other. And you have to physically go click to put a little marker on the map for yourself so that you can get it on your compass so you can run there. And then when you get there, you have this metal detector, or sometimes you have to search an entire area to find whatever stash they left for you. Other times, you'll find people that will talk to you about stuff, but they'll only sort of give you a vague description of a place. So I found this one letter that says, the captain took his boys and they left, but I doubt they would go to the lake. Even if they were to go to the lake, they would need a boat. But as soon as the captain comes back, I'll tell him to send more men your way. And I say, okay, shit. So I need a body of water somewhere. I need to find a place where they put boats. like that. So I need some harbor of some kind, right? But the game doesn't mark it on your map. It doesn't tell you it might be here. Good luck now.
Okay.
Go look for a body of water in some places with boats, right?
I like that aspect of it when you don't know, when you're not just like following along a quest marker, because I always find, even though that can be fun in a game where you have, here's a quest marker, just go do the thing. I really do like that type of organic, we're going to do it like this and try to figure this out. Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Dude, I run into the first village. You'll appreciate this one. I run into the first village and it says the captain is somewhere. I didn't listen, so I don't know where the captain is. But I see this giant church on the hill. And I'm like, if I'm a captain, I'll probably be in the church, no? So I run into the church. and I discover a murder scene. The vicar and some other person is standing over a body that's been staked through the heart and just blood everywhere. And the vicar is acting well, not really, but the vicar is acting super sus, right? Like mega sus. Just like, don't say anything to the soldiers because we don't need this trouble right now. And I'm like, okay, shit. Okay, fine. And then you have a choice. You can either go tell the captain that you found a murder and then that's the end of the quest. Or you can go and investigate the murder and find out who killed what. Or you can just do nothing. You can just ignore it and then that's fine too.
None of my business.
The game literally adapts to every single choice you make, and there's always another step, even if you decide you don't want to follow through on something or you don't care about something. The game just keeps adapting. And the one thing that will either make people genuinely want to play Atomfall or make them go, nah, I don't care. Here's how the game starts. As soon as you get into the world, you walk to this red phone booth and the phone rings. There's a voice on the other side that says, Oberon must die. And you go, hello, hello? It says, Oberon must die. And then it goes dead silent. And then you find, as you run into this first village, another red phone booth, and the phone rings and you answer. And it says, the village is quiet. The village is quaint. The village is picturesque. Be careful. The village is dangerous. And that's it. And you're like, oh, shit. What? Oh, crap. Here we go. It is so cool. It's really fun. The enemy AI, as soon as guys are running up, there's this one dude, actually some of the NPCs, they're dressed in full cricket gear. Like playing cricket. Cricket bat running up to you, gonna beat the crap out of you. The second you bring your gun up and aim at them, they jump back and they run away. Because they have a bat, you have a gun. They're like, bro,
never mind.
That's a fight I'm not taking. I'm not doing that. So the enemy AI is really clever. And sometimes not, sometimes you do see the gamifying a little bit coming through, but the enemy AI is definitely more clever than most. And I'll say this is the last thing and then we can move on. But the last thing was I was in this gunfight and I'm hiding in this grass and they're looking for me. And I tell my chat, I'm like, guys, I'm just going to try and headshot this guy because he's getting dangerously close. So I headshot him and nothing happens. They hear the gunshot and like, I heard shots and they're running around, but they don't know who I am. So some more guys come out and I shoot another one while one of them is sort of off looking the other way. And he immediately turns around and he's like, I found a body. Someone's picking us up or something. And then I try and shoot him, but I didn't see that another guy came up the path and he's looking in my direction. So as soon as I shoot this guy, that guy sees where I am and he's starting to scream and shoot at me. And I take him out. And then the new enemies that enter the zone, again, don't know where I am. So the AI knows that if enemies are too far away, they won't know where the shots came from. And unless an enemy is looking directly at you, they can't know where the shot is coming from. So they're sort of blind to some extent unless they're looking right at you when you're taking the shot, which I thought was like a very interesting twist, especially after Assassin's Creed Shadows, where the AI is literally, let me walk 5 yards to the left and then back to the right.
So, about what is the perspective that you play in? First person, third person?
First person.
Okay.
First person.
Usually I prefer third person.
Which is the one
games.
Downside to it.
Yeah,
I would have
you like third person?
Play third.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Very much prefer a third person.
But still, they're trying some new stuff. Yeah. Sounds interesting. I think that Carnage also played it, and he thought that it was pretty good. So, yeah, that's cool beans.
No, I think it's a really good game. I'm going to be playing more today after our podcast here, and then I'll probably do my review tonight or tomorrow morning of the game. There's another game that I thought you will also enjoy. Something Grail. Tainted Grail?
Oh, dude, the devs actually reached out to me for that game. I have a code. I haven't had the time, but I do want to check it out.
That looks sick.
From what they are describing, that looks like it's really, really fun. And they actually reached out to me. They were just like, "Hey, we'd like you to check out our game." And I was like, "Oh man, it's like a really tough time right now because there's all these games." But the game's been out for a while. It's just been in early access, is my understanding. And they've recently added version 0.9. Correct? That's the current version of the game.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because they told me that they were adding that one on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. And that one's like very, very close to the final version. And then the game itself is going to launch, I forget if it's in April or in May or whatever, but that's when 1.0 will launch proper. I'm thinking if I want to jump in at 0.9 or if I want to wait for 1.0 to get like the full experience. But I'm super intrigued about that game. A lot of people are calling it like the indie Skyrim. And I was like, ooh, this sounds good. Because basically one of the things for me about Skyrim is I couldn't care less about Skyrim's combat. I think Skyrim's combat is garbage.
Yeah.
And I know people are going to say, but if you play this spellcaster and if you play this archer, it's like, bro, do you know me? Do you know who I am? Like, listen, I want to play.
You want to do axe or sword
I
and
want
shield.
like a big axe or a sword and shield. That's my jam. A hammer. And the melee combat in Skyrim was just ass. It was terrible. Like, I'm sorry. So if this one does better, that will be like very easy to win me over.
It looks good. At least the casting looks good. And if people know me, casting is my game, right? So I will cast for all game long if I can. But even the sort of close combat looks decent. My problem is the first person element. I think Sword and Bolt suffers in first person.
It does, but
because
we'll see if they tackle it.
AI automatically has to be a bit more stupid in first person, because if you can't have an enemy behind you that you physically can't see attack you at the same time as the enemy in front of you, right? That can physically not happen.
Yes,
Whereas you play something like Elden Ring.
Be aware. Like, what do you mean you can't? Yeah, you can. Fuck the player.
Well, the issue with that is
if he's not situationally aware, that's too bad. Time to die, bitch.
Well, the issue with situational awareness is it's either going to be some flashing light behind you, right? But you think about something like Elden Ring. Elden Ring's mobs can swarm you specifically because you're not playing in first person, right? So you have to be very aware because they will actually attack at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever fought a rune bear in Elden Ring will know if you pull a second rune bear, that shit is devastating because they will do their combos at the same time.
Listen, if you pull two rune bears, you get a reenactment of the Baldur's Gate scene, except it's not consensual.
Yeah. I've managed to kill it once, but by kiting one basically around the hut and just hitting and running.
Yeah.
Because they're very difficult. But with first person, you almost have to downscale the sort of simultaneous damage that they'll deal to you. And I just hate the fact that because Sword and Shield takes up a lot of space on your screen, right? So you're almost only looking through this little gap because the sword is taking up 1/3 of the screen on this side, the shield is taking up 1/4 on this side. It's like, man,
that's fine.
You could make this game so good if you just do third person.
Yeah, I know. I always prefer third person, but I do want to check this one out for sure. It's just a matter of timing. So yeah.
And on the early access thing, I'm with you there. Like even with Baldur's Gate, I bought it early to support the devs.
Yeah.
But I only played like 8 hours the first day it came out, and then I stopped.
Yeah, it's smart.
And never again. Yeah, because for me, it's a thing of, why would I spoil the game for myself in early access when so much will change from early access to actual live?
Although they did tell me that 0.9 is very close to what the final game is going to be. That's why I'm like, maybe I'll jump in now. It's just a matter of
I'll probably buy it.
Yeah.
I'll buy it, but I'll play it when it goes actual live. I don't like playing early access titles.
Yeah.
Unless it's a game like it's just going to be always in early access, like Rust. If you're waiting for that game to go live, you're going to wait the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's never coming out.
No. On to the poll. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a new segment for the podcast. We'll start every single episode talking about the poll of last week. Last week, we asked you guys, did you play Assassin's Creed Shadows?
You should mention...
we had 400.
You should mention that we do a poll every time that we launch new podcasts. So if you see the podcast, there's also a poll up on the channel, and you can go and participate in the poll.
Or if you see the poll, there's definitely a podcast.
There's a podcast as well. So it's like, we're hitting two avenues. Like, right, we're gonna give the good old 1-2 on the algorithm. It's like pow, get him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So we asked you, did you play Assassin's Creed Shadows? 463 of you replied or voted in the poll. I think to date this is our biggest poll. So thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you,
for
Ubisoft,
partaking in that poll. Yeah, and thanks to Ubisoft for being absolute dog crap. But okay, so 5% of you said yes. 8% of you said no, but will eventually. 4% of you said, I don't give a shit, just show me the results. But a whopping 83% said no, and I don't plan to.
Damn. That's
like, yeah,
you guys are harsh, man. Is it because I don't like Ubisoft and Akalon doesn't like Ubisoft? Is that why you guys are like, yeah, fuck Ubisoft, yeah, fuck them?
Yeah. This reminds me actually, and this isn't even a topic we plan to discuss, but it reminds me of Very AFK. You know who that is, right? The Bethesda guy.
Not Bethesda.
Not Bethesda, Larian.
Larian Studios, yeah, I know.
Yeah. He made this sort of tweet or post, I guess, nowadays that it's called X, where he said he gets not liking a game. He gets even hating a game. But you shouldn't hate a game just because someone told you to hate a game. You know, don't let other people monetize your passion.
Yeah.
And I fully agree with the sentiment. My problem was with the assumption. The assumption is that everyone hates Assassin's Creed because someone told them to hate it. It's like, bro, that's a wild assumption. If you have to provide evidence for an assumption like that. Because I can tell you now, I think most people who don't like the game don't like it for their own reasons. And they can actually tell you why they won't play it. Either because they used to love Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3, right? They don't like the new method. So they probably didn't even play Valhalla. Or they don't like the politics or whatever, right? There's like a million different ways. But the assumption, I think, was a little bit... And I told him as much, right? I love Very AFK. I think he's a really cool dude. But that one assumption was saying, I hate this. Because, okay, we're going to talk about this anyway, so we may as well bring it up. It's like when Fighting Cowboy goes all of these grifters, right? And it's like, okay, hold up. What does grifter mean? Grifter means someone monetizing something that they themselves don't believe in. It's sort of like when people say, oh, you're just making hate content to hate farm. It's like, okay, that's a very... I know you think that's not really a big accusation, but it is a big accusation. You're literally saying that I'm lying about my dislike of something. Wow, people will know this, because every single time you make a negative thing about WoW, you're just hate farming, bro. You're just hate farming. Hate for the sake of hate farming, or hate clicks. It's like, if you're gonna make an assumption of dishonesty, you have to be able to provide proof of that assumption, right? You can't just make an accusation with no proof relayed. So when Fighting Cowboy called all of us grifters, I did have a little of a problem there. I was like, provide the evidence, bro, before you just throw out the word, because that's what everyone else calls us. But anyways...
before we jump into the Fighting Cowboy thing, one of the things that I obviously need to disclose, because I think it's important, is that I'm going to be biased. Yep. And the reason I'm going to be biased is because I am very good friends with Fighting Cowboy. It's just that simple. But I am going to bring additional content, additional context. Whether people choose to accept that or not, that's going to be up to you. The one thing that I will tell you is... I'm going to tell you the exact truth and how I personally feel about it, and you guys can do with that as you will. So you are saying when Fighting Cowboys... I
would also just like to do the same that you just did. I am going to be biased as well here. But not because I'm friends with Fighting Cowboy. I don't know Fighting Cowboy. But I can't claim to not be biased because Fighting Cowboy did directly speak out against people like me, right? The type of politics I hold dear are not the type of politics he holds dear. So obviously I would be lying if I said I'm coming at this with no bias.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the most moderate and balanced person in the history of the YouTube in my assumptions here.
So one of the first things that I want to bring up is I think both of us can agree on one thing, which is something that we've brought up in multiple podcasts already, and that is that there are bad actors on both sides of the culture war.
100%. Okay. Oh, yeah. 100%. So,
when Cowboy is saying grifters, my interpretation of it, and again, I am biased, so whatever. My interpretation is he's calling out some of the bad actors. That's kind of like the idea that I get from that particular thing. At the same time, I think it's important to bring out that the reason why this all got started is because of live stream comments. Now, live stream comments can be really annoying when you're trying to cover a game and some people are coming in and they're just like, oh, game's so bad. Why are you playing this game? And it's like the actual question is, why are you here watching?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like the thing, because like if you're playing, like for instance, say you're playing World of Warcraft, and every now and then I come in and I take it a little jab, and because you and I are friends, that's a different interaction because you know I'm joking. But a random person that maybe hasn't been to your chat before, or maybe they have been to your chat before and they're just like repeatedly going like, oh my God, why are you playing this? This is so annoying. Why can't you play something else? And it's like, bro, leave and come back some other time. Like, stop. And when you're at the scale of fighting Cowboy, he had like almost 1,000 concurrents when he was doing the Assassin's Creed Shadows stream. That's going to be a lot more people coming in and saying that thing repeatedly over and over and over. So the initial rant that he did, which you and I can relate to because we've both streamed, it's just like, it's trying to discourage people from that behavior. It's like, listen, stop. Okay, I just want to play the game. Like, fucking stop. And the thing is, for him, he's also covered the game 2 months prior because he had early access to the game. So he's been reading comments on those videos. So it's not even just from the stream. He's already have preconceived comments, not preconceived, but like he's already pre-read comments on his previous. So he's already loaded. He's already loaded by people coming in and, you know, saying stuff about Yasuke and blah, 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 blah. It is what it is. Now, so that was the first like Twitter thing that, not Twitter, but like the first clip that got picked up on Twitter, and Kotaku reported on it and a bunch of people reported on that stuff and whatnot. And then he made the other stream. Now, in between all of this, Cowboy also got hacked. Now, the hacking situation, there were a lot of people who were like jumping in and saying like, oh, I can't believe the culture warriors are coming in attacking Cowboy just because he said this one thing. So much for freedom of speech, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's important to remain truthful. The hack is completely unrelated to anything that happened in regards to Assassin's Creed Shadows. For people that have any doubts at all, I had a lengthy conversation with the hacker himself, the person that actually hacked him. So,
what? Actual? Holy shit, why is that not a topic, bro? Holy crap. It's just, Ruriko just going, I'm sitting on a big lead here.
It's not,
I'll just drop it casually.
It's not a big deal because it's completely unrelated. So it's like if it was actually related to the culture war, it could have been interesting, but it was not related. It was not related to it at all. I was talking to the guy and I asked him like, is this about the culture war? And he's like, no, I don't care. I just want money. Like that was
Oh wow.
It was that simple.
Okay.
Dude was just trying to blackmail him and I don't think it even went through whatever, so he just didn't even care.
Yeah.
He gave the accounts back as far as my understanding. So it's like, it was super. And the reason I talked with him is because this was super funny. So when Cowboy got hacked, he posted it on YouTube so that people were aware. And I spread this on Twitter so that people would be very careful. Cowboy got hacked, so if he messages you, be careful, right? And the person who hacked him then started DMing me, trying to hack me as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I already knew.
Yeah.
And so, we eventually get into a conversation and he's chatting with me and he's telling me about, the stuff and whatnot. But basically the hack is completely unrelated to the culture war. So if anybody's either celebrating one side or condemning the other, completely unrelated. It was just a guy that wanted money. That's it. That was
just your normal scumbag, not an ideological scumbag. This guy just wanted Moolah.
I wouldn't even call him a scumbag. He didn't seem like he was that bad of a guy. He's just a guy out there making a living, you know? Just not in a very legal way. A scammer, absolutely a scammer. But he was actually nice enough to give the accounts back.
Rurikon, I guess, is out here auditioning for a role in GTA 7. You know, just let's go. Questionable morals, you know?
No, I mean, obviously, it's a scumbag thing to do, obviously. But I'm just saying, at least the guy gave the shit back, so it's whatever. But that's the hacking situation for anybody that cares about that. Now, in regards to the video, one of the main drivers of the video has actually never been made public. One of the main reasons why he made that follow-up stream. And that was because, you know, he did the clip thing, he did the stream thing, and then that was clipped, and then it went viral. Kotaku picked it up and all of that stuff. And that obviously caused a lot of people in the commentary community to pick up on it, which is expected. Now, the thing is, one of the people in the commentary community was maybe a little bit too unhinged. Maybe just a smidge too unhinged. And rather than just commentate on the topic at hand, he went and searched for pictures of fighting Cowboy. And then he found a picture of fighting Cowboy with his kid. And that was essentially like the video was a picture of fighting Cowboy with his kid and him just like, you know, talking about the whole, you kind of get the idea, right? Usually when you, like, let's say that was literally the only picture you had of fighting Cowboy and you didn't have the clip, you know the clip existed. What would you have done if there's a picture of fighting Cowboy with his kid?
I wouldn't use the picture of fighting Cowboy and his kid.
You can use the picture, but here's what you can do. You can blur the kid.
See, I wouldn't even do that.
At the very least, for me, you can blur the kid.
Off limits.
Yeah.
Right. So the way I view it is family is off limits. So anyone who isn't putting themselves out there to be part of the conversation isn't part of the conversation, right? Up. So I'm not going to pull people in. So I'll give a quick thing here. Yesterday in my coverage of Fighting Cowboy's video, while I was making the video, I mentioned that I know Fighting Cowboy only through my friendship with Rurikon, who happened to be friends with Fighting Cowboy. I cut that part out specifically because Rurikon isn't part of the drama, right? He didn't make himself part of this. He didn't make a video on it. And I was like, this is connecting Rurikon to drama that he's not publicly connected to, right? And even if that's the most benign thing and no one's going to run with it, it's still a case of some unhinged guy hears that and suddenly Rurikon is catching strays.
To be honest,
I connected him. So
I wouldn't care at all. Like, listen, I am publicly friends with Fighting Cowboy, and I will continue to be, and it is what it is.
No, I know this, but from my perspective, that's how I operate.
I
don't try and drag people into conflicts that they don't put themselves in personally, right? And the only reason you're putting yourself in this personally is because my community would feel like we're copping out if we didn't cover the Fighting Cowboy stuff. It's drama. We cover drama in the gaming industry.
No,
right?
but like,
but yeah.
So yeah, that video with the dude with the picture, that was kind of like a big drive. Like, look, Fighting Cowboy is a guy that is very hot-blooded. Like, you fuck with him, he's not going to be happy about it. Now, another thing that I've seen is a lot of people talking about how Fighting Cowboy lies and he gaslights and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, listen, you can say a lot of things about Fighting Cowboy. You cannot like the fact that he's more left-leaning. You cannot like a lot of things about him. One of the things that I will say, he does not lie. If he says something, he fucking believes it, and he will stand behind it. It is just that simple. Now, I personally advise him, like, listen, do not follow up on that clip. I would not recommend that because, like we've said, there's going to be bad actors and whatever, and people are going to pick up the clip, and they're just going to keep running with it over and over and over because, you know, we've seen the cycle. We know how this goes. But yeah, that's kind of like the situation, you know. Now, one of the things that I will point out is that I've noticed that in a lot of the coverage that has happened, people are saying that Fighting Cowboy is defending the fact that Yasuke is a samurai, which he doesn't. He specifically says in his stream, like, some people say he's a retainer, some people say he's a samurai. I don't care about any of that. Or something to this effect. This is kind of like the sentiment that comes out. And then people go on to talk about how Fighting Cowboy is claiming that Yasuke is a samurai. And I was just like, that's not what he said. But okay, whatever. But that's kind of like what I can say on it. Other than that,
So I'll say, from my perspective, the first time this stuff happened, I didn't make a video about Fighting Cowboy. And as I said in my video yesterday about this, it's because I don't think Fighting Cowboy is worth my time. That's not to say I don't think he's worthy as a human being or as a content creator. It's just that from everything I've seen, he's wildly uninformed about the drama. He doesn't know what's actually going on. And so from my perspective, why would I waste my time making content on someone who's just saying shit, right? And I don't like fighting with content creators about stuff. So if you're just going to like say stuff and don't know what you're talking about, it's fine. I'm not going to chase the drama, as it were. Then he made the follow-up, and I still didn't make a video, even though his follow-up didn't make things better. And then it was literally once he tweeted out why he got so angry and why he lost his shit in live stream, and he used a screenshot of a comment on the live stream, not during the live stream,
a comment
but
on
kind of made it seem like this was the comment that sent him over the edge. That's the moment that I said, hold up. Okay, now we have a bunch of problems. And then as I started looking, because I wasn't yet sure if I'm going to make a video on this, but as I started researching, I started finding more and more pieces of evidence that kind of led me to believe, and I'm not saying that this is what happened, I'm just saying this is the idea that I got. So I went all the way back to like 2018, 2017, 2019, finding tweets, finding posts, finding clips, and all the rest of it, right? That's my job, right? And Fighting Cowboy is very left-leaning. Very. He's very outspoken about the sort of left-wing politics. Very outspoken. He likes to start some tweets with "as a straight white man," and then basically telling straight white men to shut the hell up. So I found a bunch of those tweets that I covered in my video, and to me, it just seemed like Fighting Cowboy was hoping, he was waiting for this moment that he could finally shut the white people up about the black samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I was like, okay, now I have to talk about it. But even in my video, I don't have anything against him as a dude. He's a guy. His content seems to be quite engaging. People seem to really enjoy his content. That's great. But I do think he spoke about something he doesn't understand, right? Because it has nothing to do with the fact that there's a black man in a game, right? Which is what he makes it seem like. He makes it seem like people hate black people in video games, which isn't what this problem is about. The problem is much deeper than that, right? And where you sort of defend him and you say, well, actually, he didn't say that he's okay with Yasuke being a samurai. His approach to it is also dishonest because he says some say he's a retainer, some say he's a samurai. No one says he's a samurai. One dude, Thomas Lockley, based on one page, says he's a samurai.
That guy said he's a samurai. But like, here's again the thing, right? And this is the interpretation that everybody has taken, is that Cowboy's taken like this big stance in favor of Yasuke and the whole black samurai thing and all of this stuff. And in reality, guys are like, oh, this is not about there being a black man in the game. The thing is, you have to look at this from the context of somebody who just read like let's say 10, 20 comments on his 900 plus people live stream talking about how they're upset over the fact that there is a black guy in the game. He's addressing the people in his chat.
Yeah.
And then he says,
but he does make the grifters part of it, even in his original explosion.
But that's the thing. Do you think you're a grifter?
According to him, I am, right?
What do you mean according to him?
Which is the point.
He didn't.
Well, remember, it doesn't. I know I'm not a grifter, right?
But listen,
I know I'm not just looking.
Let me just explain something to you.
Yeah.
Up until, so you felt that he was including you in the whole grifters part. Up until last night, he didn't even know you. And he knows you now because I said I would be talking about this in our podcast.
I am blocked by him, right? And I've been blocked by him for like 3 or 4 days, right? So there's some issues there, right? I've never interacted with this dude even once.
You were not
and I'm blocked by him.
You were not manually blocked. That's the thing.
That's fine,
or
right?
Most of the other people were not manually blocked.
Yeah, but it does show you, because the way he would have blocked me was by going to the people that he does know. And I don't mind the fact that he doesn't know me. I am insignificant compared to him, right? I have something like 20,000+ subscribers. My videos get like 5,000-6,000 views, so I don't mind that at all, right?
I don't think insignificant is a fair thing to say. Like, what the
No,
fuck?
but it is technically, compared to a guy that has 1.4 million subscribers, my little channel is insignificant, right? So I don't mind that he doesn't know me at all. But he obviously went to like Hypnotic and Smash, and he just, all their followers, he just blocked all of them. So he does view all their followers as grifters. He views those people as people that he just doesn't want to hear from because they're grifters. They don't believe what they say.
I don't think that's how that works. I don't know exactly how the Twitter chain blocks work or whatever, because I don't use that stuff. But I think it's just like a random list that somebody makes or something, and probably you just use that. I don't know. I don't know the details of how the blocking stuff happened. But on the topic of the whole insignificant thing, he often collabs with creators like much, much smaller, like even smaller than you. So it's
I mean, But I'm not saying that he thinks I'm insignificant. I'm saying there's a reason he wouldn't know me, right?
Okay.
You don't know every like 1,000 subscriber channel on YouTube, right? Because compared to you, they are insignificant. Even compared to you, right? Yeah. I am an insignificant channel because we know each other because we met in the WoW space and we enjoyed each other and became friends, right? So I'm not insignificant to you because I'm your friend. But if you didn't know me, then I would be insignificant to you because you have no idea who I am. I'm not like a big enough channel that people write articles about my content or about my videos. So there's no way for him to know me. So I'm not taking any of it personal, right? So it's not like I feel personally attacked. It's more that I feel like he's attacked to the ears of his followers, right? To the ears of his community. Would be against me and people like me, right? Because he is just saying grifters in general.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When I look at that, I look at it and I'm like, okay, there are definitely bad actors in both sides, like we've expressed.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And to me, those are the grifters. That's the way that I look at it. And then,
I agree with you. Whether or not they are, yes.
Whether or not someone is a grifter, I'll judge that based on their content whenever I see the stuff and whatnot. But yeah, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people on my side. I have videos literally targeting the grifters on my side.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can see how they keep twisting shit. And, when, what was the game that came out that was obviously quite successful? And they just kept pretending like it wasn't a success. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Oh, yeah, Kingdom Come. I've heard some people say
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Monster Hunter, which was funny.
Yeah, Monster Hunter also, but... Because they have this, look how it fell off. It's not 500,000 anymore, it's now 200,000. It's like, bitch, 200,000 is a lot of bloody players, So it's fine to take the L sometimes. Like, look, out of all woke games, about 90% will fail because they go too far to woke, right? But the 10% that make it through, it's okay to go, well, we took the L, right? We weren't able to get our message across. Or people just went, bro, I know it's woke, but it looks fun, right? Which does happen, right? There are games that's woke, but it is fun, so you play it. And it's fine to take that out. And then for the grifters, sadly, there are games that isn't woke. They might have some woke elements, but they're not woke themselves. But then because they just care about the clicks, they just want those clicks, they go in on it, right? And then they can't turn around and say, well, I don't know.
When they make those big lists and then they just include like fucking Elden Ring has female characters. Like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And then, I guess how I know.
It's gay like women now. It's gay like women.
Yeah, 100% right. But how I know these people are grifters is when I find these anti-woke channel or accounts on Twitter, and then they have lists of what games used to be, and Mass Effect 1 and 2 is on that list, and Dragon Age Origins is on that list.
We didn't used to have the gay in these games.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like gay people in those games, you know? So it's like, do you play games or do you just complain about video games? Like, I'm not entirely sure, right? So yeah, I do agree with you. Those would be grifters.
But
right?
that's the thing. And again, maybe like I said at the start, I am biased. I'm admitting it. It is what it is. So I'm going to be more prone to giving it a more charitable interpretation. So in my view, I look at it and I'm like, okay, when he's talking about grifters, he's talking about some of these bad actors. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you, the main driver of that stream is somebody just like talking shit about you when you have a picture and they have a picture of you with your kid. Like, I think, listen.
Yeah, I understand that.
If you want to talk shit about me all day long, but you leave my fucking family out of it. Family should be out of bounds 100%. For all of this online stuff. But some people don't respect those boundaries, and obviously some people are going to react differently. Like, even if somebody was to do that to me, I'd probably still like, I'm not even going to fuck it. Whatever. Okay, do your thing. You're a fucking scumbag. You're a piece of shit, and I hope you die in a fire, but, you know, a chemical one so that you can actually burn slowly and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah, no, I fully get that. And if that is exactly why he did it, I can fully understand that, right?
Yeah.
I still think my biggest problem with fighting Cowboy, his follow-up and his initial rant about this stuff, is he clearly doesn't know anything about the war, and yet he inserts himself into the war and then continues to insert himself into the war, but at no point makes any attempt to actually figure out what the war is about, right? Like, what is it that we're actually fighting? Now, I know for a fact that even if he knew what we were fighting for, he'd probably still not support it because he is very left-wing. But I would say, you know, and this is where I sort of think one of my big problems is if you're going to complain about people making shit political, because that's one of his complaints is that people are bringing this politics bullshit into his streams, you're making things political first. There's clips of him out there criticizing Musk, criticizing Trump, melting down about the stuff the Republicans are doing.
Right?
I'm pretty sure someone shared a clip with me yesterday. I didn't watch it on stream because I don't really respond to meltdown clips from other people while live because they might be saying things that might get me demonetized, so I don't really click that too often. But someone said fighting Cowboy is melting down about Elon Musk stuff live on stream. And when people say meltdown, they usually just mean he's mildly critical. Right?
Yeah,
like, that's meltdown
nowadays. That's meltdown material. Is like, oh, he's crashing out. Oh,
yeah. Right. So he's probably just mega critical, and it's sort of like, look, if you don't want politics, so you don't want to deal with any political outlash or anything like that, then do what Rurikon does, which is genuinely never become part of politics. You don't speak about politics. Every single time we've done politics on this podcast, you'll note Rurikon goes dead quiet. He doesn't have anything to say because he doesn't know much of this. He doesn't care.
It's like I might even know, but the thing to me is whenever I'm going to insert myself into a topic, I'm going to like, no, I need to know exactly where I stand on this topic. And a lot of times, you know, if I think like, I think I stand here, then I'll watch a video and I'm like, then I'll watch another one and I'm like, and then I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to have to devote 100 hours of research to actually figure out what is the real problem here. And I don't want to do those 100 hours. I'd rather be playing video games.
Oh yeah.
So that's why
I fully get that.
Listen, and I'm out. Like, keep me the fuck out of this.
And I think if fighting Cowboy's rant on the original Outlash was just about the racist comments, and he just left it there, right? Because I played AC Shadows, boys. So I know for a fact he got racist comments. Because I got racist comments that is blocked.
Surprise,
surprise. Right? There were people who came in there throwing the N-word around. There were people who came in there being very, very not cool. Luckily, all of those words are blocked on my chat immediately. And my mods know, instantly banned, right? So you get instantly banned from my channel as soon as that happens. But if that was his only outrage, right? So he just said, guys, stop being racist in my chat. Stop writing this shit. I'm just going to ban all of you. No one would have cared, right? It's the fact that he then used that as a way to go after the anti-woke crowd and the people complaining about Yasuke and getting all of it wrong. As I said in my video, the whole problem here was Ubisoft claiming that this is their first game ever where it's not historically inspired, but actual history. It's right? So that's where this entire thing happened.
Ubisoft is so fucking stupid for doing that. Yeah. It's so stupid, dude. And it's like, I feel like Ubisoft was purposefully, like somebody has a vendetta against Japan over there at Ubisoft. That's the only explanation. Like they just fucking hate them or something. I don't know. Because the way that they're handling this whole situation is absolutely atrocious. Yeah. But
no, I agree with you. And we're about to talk about the AC Shadow stuff. Like, believe me, guys, me and Rurikon have a lot of things to talk about AC Shadows. But I will just say this to Fighting Cowboy. I don't know if he'll ever watch this podcast or this part of it, but what you need to understand, what everyone needs to understand, if Ubisoft came out, right as they announced the Black Samurai in Japan, and they say, boys, hold up.
It's fiction.
This, first and foremost, our game is fiction, right? We don't really do historical accuracy. Even then, we wanted to find a character through which we could tell the story as a first-time experience. This character knows nothing about Japan. They're there for the first time. We have this one character that is embroiled in this. They're born here. They understand the world. But then we wanted another character so that we can give players a first-time look at Japan through the eyes of this player. And that's why we decided on Yasuke, because we know there was such a character back in history in Japan during this period. And we thought this was just the perfect character to choose for this. We know they're not a samurai. We're not claiming that they are, but it just sort of made sense to us, right? Because playing a weapons bearer in a video game would be boring as shit. So we decided to give him a sword and he can fight with it, right? Most people would have been like, oh, okay, no problem. It's the fact that Ubisoft said, no, he's absolutely a samurai, 100%, no questions about it. And you're like, really?
To be honest,
he was there for 2 years.
I no longer know whether or not people would have been okay with it. Maybe they would have been, but with some of the stuff I've seen, I don't know anymore.
When I say people would have been okay with it, we need to understand in context, right? Would you have had the massive outrage?
Yeah, the outrage would have been less. But I still think that there would still be some people out there who would still like,
guys, let's be real.
Fuck this.
There's about 10% of the right and 10% of the left that are unhinged beyond.
Yes.
They will complain about everything, right? Doesn't matter what it is. They will complain about it because this is the internet. So you'll never not have complaints.
Yeah.
But the thing that ultimately destroyed the game, that probably would not have happened.
Yeah.
Right? Most people would probably have been like, oh, all right, no, that's cool. Let's see how this plays out.
Just one more thing that I would like to bring up to kind of just like close this off is that a lot of people are painting Cowboy to be this big Ubisoft shill, like he's defending Ubisoft. And like I explained, the biggest thing that provoked this is both the fact that people were just like in his stream being assholes, and then the fucking unhinged lunatic who has the video of a picture with him and his kid, which is fucked up. But Cowboy doesn't give a fuck about Ubisoft. As a matter of fact, in a lot of the podcasts that we've done, both of us are extremely critical of Ubisoft's disgusting business practices. I personally celebrate the downfall of Ubisoft. Fuck them. Those guys are fucking scumbags. They get what they fucking deserve. Sorry about the developers that are about to lose their jobs. That fucking sucks. Hope you guys land on a good spot in the industry.
I'm not sorry, though.
Not sorry about the monetization director who was crying on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Fuck that guy. That guy can get fired. He can fuck him. Okay, you're the reason, bro.
Yeah.
You're it. It's your fault. What is happening?
Yeah.
But it's like he doesn't care. And the thing is, he made one live stream for Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's it. He did like the preview coverage, which was like 2 months ago, whatever, where there's like gameplay of Yasuke and gameplay of Naue. And then he did this one stream. He hasn't even started playing the game proper. So
yeah. No, I get that, right? And I get that there's people on both sides. I just think fighting Cowboy, stay out of the politics, especially the game politics, if you don't want to be a part of it. If you do want to be a part of it, I know this is asking a lot because most people on the other side don't care about educating themselves about what we're actually fighting. But if you can, try and educate yourself if you want to be part of it. Otherwise, dude, Monster Hunter is really good. You have so many games that you can play those games, you know? I know there's people complaining about Monster Hunter being woke, but they oftentimes just get owned and everyone just moves on and laughs at them. So it's perfectly fine. We don't have to worry about it.
So woke.
So woke. Even give away shit for free. Right? Bloody socialists.
Jesus.
But okay, so from the Cowboy drama onto, well, more AC Shadows drama, I guess you could say. So we have to start with the success of AC Shadows.
The last numbers I thought were like 3 million, bro. Game's like doing gangbusters.
I mean, the game is doing phenomenally well, except if you realize that it's still just players. That's the metric that they keep celebrating is players. Now, what's very funny, and you'll appreciate this.
It's the most important thing. It's the players. It's for the players. What do you mean?
I think Ubisoft's marketing budget has run out.
Oh, no.
Because even IGN wrote an article saying Assassin's Creed Shadows now has 3 million players, yet still no mention of copies sold. So even the mainstream truthsayers are finally going,
no.
What's the actual metrics here? Because for those of you that don't know, that might not be clued in, players is a metric that genuinely doesn't mean anything. Because players include literally anyone, from the person that maybe logged in by accident, right? They foul, their penis hit the mouse and it hit play, and now they're in the game and they're like, oh, no, I don't want to be in here. To the person that finished the game.
So,
right? People who refunded, all of that's included in the metric players.
So the important thing is, if you're running a live service game, then your MAUs are a really big deal. But if you're running although kind of Assassin's Creed kind of like, you know, because they also have a bunch of fucking disgusting microtransactions in that bitch. So
they do.
Maybe players is an interesting metric from that perspective. But other than that,
the issue with that is even there it wouldn't be. So for live service, MAUs are monthly active users. So that would include people who are actively using the game.
Yeah, but the way that they count
players,
them is like,
again, is a metric that
you logged in. He's an active user.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If World of Warcraft were to start celebrating World of Warcraft success based on players, then WoW could come out and say, World of Warcraft up to date has 1 billion players. Because since the launch of WoW, there's been 1 billion people that logged in at one point or another. And they are technically considered players, right? Because they did log in. That's why monthly active user, it would be a metric that you could celebrate, but the player is the weird one.
The game's only been out for a month. They're all monthly active users.
Also probably true, but it is fundamentally the player metric is a useless metric. And as I said in my video about this, it's like trying to say how much it rained by how wet people got. Like that doesn't mean what are you talking about, right? What if everyone was indoors, then it didn't rain at all, even though there's floods? It didn't rain, no one got wet, right? It's like, that's not how you do it, right?
Yeah.
But everyone keeps doing it. AC keeps doing it. They keep saying 3 million players. But, Rurikon, this game, being the success that it is, according to the Twitter account, and I think, before we go, we need to just add this before we get into the actual. The game might not be that successful, but what is successful is the ratioing ability of the Twitter account of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Bro. Like, if there's one guy that works at Ubisoft,
it's the social media
deserves his job, is the guy that runs the Twitter account at the very least.
Bro,
right?
dude handing out roasts. Like, it was like, who gave him a chef's hat? Bro's cooking. That was hilarious, dude.
Now, for those who don't know, Elon Musk got in and sort of started criticizing our son and saying our son's a fraud for taking an ad to play Assassin's Creed Shadows. I thought the ad for Hassan was absolutely bonkers and very stupid from Ubisoft.
Oh, absolutely.
Hassan doesn't play video games. Like, he never streams video games.
He does play video games, but very rarely, because his audience is like, no, I need more propaganda. There's not enough propaganda when the video games are on. Exactly.
His audience want to watch ISIS recruitment videos.
Can we get another terrorist on stream real quick?
Yeah. They want to see what's the benefits like for the Houthi pirates and shit. They don't care what video game is next. So that was already a very political move. And then Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows chimed in. And to be fair, not unprovoked, because Elon Musk did say, dude literally took an ad for an objectively terrible game, right? So they came in and they said, is that what the guy that played your Path of Exile 2 account told you? Right? Which got a massive ratio. It got over 400,000 likes from people.
Imagine,
it was huge.
Imagine getting ratioed on your own social media platform. That's fucking Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, I saw people sort of suggesting it might be botted, which I just immediately thought they have to be so stupid if they did that. You're botting on your reply to the owner of the account that can literally check if you botted. The likes, I don't think they're that stupid, right? I don't think they're that stupid.
But yeah, to me, that wasn't
I think it's genuinely. There are a lot of people that hate Elon Musk. Let's just be clear, right? There's a lot of people that don't like Elon Musk. So I think the likes are real, and it was funny. But listen, it was mega funny.
That wasn't even the best one, because after that there was another roast, which was Grums tried like making a comeback, and he put something about Assassin's Creed not being super successful, and then bro just goes, "Our game is out." I was like, "Oh yeah, fuck!" It's like, fucking twisting the knife. Ooh.
Yes, that is but twisting the knife. And to be honest, I haven't looked too deeply into this. And because here's the thing, guys, I am not ideologically captured in the way that I believe my side should be protected by every means necessary. This ratio was funny as shit.
It was.
Right? It was funny. It was highly funny. And I don't care that, my side got owned. Bro, you got to take the L's with the W's. There's nothing you can do. We get to laugh now that all of these people are going to be laid off. That's when we get to laugh, right?
That's fucked up.
but yeah, hey, bro, it's all's fair in love and war, right? Jesus, they got a little bit of a ratio. Christ. We get to see them leave with the boxes from their desk. That's all great, it's fun.
You're so unhinged. What the fuck?
But hey, we can discuss later who gets the biggest W here and who gets the biggest L. But fundamentally, there are some things that I've heard from Grum's game that is problematic. I've seen some screenshots from the Discord community that is backing this game. Nothing's happening. People have been backing this game for years now, and he doesn't provide, he pops in, according to some of the screenshots at least, he pops in once a year, gives them a little bit of an update, and then disappears again for a year, which is quite problematic when you think about.
Here's the situation. As far as I'm aware, he started Ember after Firefall. It wasn't after Firefall was shut down. I think it was before that because he got like kicked out by the board or something. And I actually played Firefall, by the way. Firefall was a really fun game. I enjoyed Firefall a lot. But, they changed the decisions. Because an interesting thing was Mark Kern was making Firefall a super hardcore game. To the point where it's like you craft an item. That item has a set durability. And if I remember correctly, you couldn't repair it.
Oh, wow.
So eventually you would lose that item and you would have to, get another one. So the game was really, really hardcore. Okay. And I think that people in Red 5 Studios wanted to like casualize it more or whatever. And they kicked him out or something like that. It was something along those lines. I don't know the exact story of how that happened. But I think this happened around 2015 was when he got pieced out of there. And I think around there, between 2015 2017, is when Ember got launched because that was the next game that he started working on. And if you take into consideration, even if we take the most generous approach would be 2017, this bitch been in development for 8 years. 8 motherfucking years, okay? We're coming up
and
on
we've seen nothing
on a
really
fucking,
about it.
On a Star Citizen situation, almost.
Well, at least Star Citizen has like people actually saying they play the game. So
there's alphas. You can play Star Citizen right now, but
Ember, as far as I know, is still just the embers. There's no fire yet. We yet to see the fire.
That's fucked up.
And I don't think, just to be absolutely fair to Grums, I don't think Grums is trying to scam his community. I think this is a case of I'll get to it, but then you get busy with like the culture war and you keep going, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. But you get so captured by the culture war that you forget what your actual purpose is, right? You're a developer. Make a game, right? My whole goal is to eventually start my own gaming company and make my own games. If I had my own gaming company, I would be spending far less time making content about how bad the gaming industry is and more time trying to make games that isn't as bad as the gaming industry is. He's in that position. He can do it. He should do that more. But I think it's one of those things where you get into this and you start going deeper and deeper and you don't realize that you keep procrastinating, right? So you keep putting stuff off in order to do this other stuff. And at some point you have to be honest. At some point you have to tell your community, boys, this game's never coming out. I'm having way too much fun owning the people on X. Go play something else, or stop owning the people on X and actually just go finish your game. So I do need to acknowledge this because I'm not gonna run defense for the people on my side. If they're pieces of shit or if they do stuff that isn't, as far as I'm concerned, above board, I'm going to say it, right? And I'm going to be honest about it. Okay, so now let's talk about the people in boxes leaving the doors of Ubisoft that I am super mega excited for. For those of you that don't know, we just quickly had to take a break. We're going to talk about the people in the boxes in a second, but I was just, during the break, sort of scrolling X as I do, and I came across this, and it is a topic that I think is interesting. So Asmongold, just during a live stream yesterday, he was watching, I don't know if you saw the insane new AI art that's happening with ChatGPT.
They're doing
and
Studio
the
Ghibli style,
Ghibli style stuff and just crazy. And Asmongold goes on this thing where he says, if you're an artist, this has been a really bad week for you. I want to promise you that it's going to get worse. Go be a plumber or something.
Oh, that's so fucked up, dude. What the fuck?
The reason Asmongold is doing this, for anyone that doesn't quite know, the truth is that AI isn't going to kill actual artists. It's not going to kill really good artists, because fundamentally AI still needs people to learn from. And people who have an actual vision, people who are actually good at creating art, they're always going to be required. And if you look at what art is doing, so the video that he's responding to here is the AI literally just recreated Lord of the Rings. The only reason the AI could do that is because someone else created Lord of the Rings, right? So the AI could just retrace it and make it. But if you've ever seen actual AI art where it tries to make something from scratch, there's a certain, I call it the soul of the art is missing.
Yeah.
There's no real soul. You remember we spoke about this last week, the AI cinematic for what's that, Ark Survival?
Oh yeah, that thing was fucking disgusting.
Yeah, but if you look at that, you can see that the AI was told to make neon plants. But because it lacks a human perspective, it doesn't know exactly how to do it. So it just makes it neon. There's no real contrast. It doesn't understand because it lacks the ability to look at it through a human eye and feel something as it's looking at it. So what Aspen is actually responding to here are the artists, and by this I mean the hundreds of thousands of people that make a living doing sort of porn art on Etsy, that are a dime a dozen. Like out of every 100 artists, there's about 99 of them that can do it relatively well. But these are also the same people that when the mines were closing in the middle of America were telling miners, just learn to code, bro. Right? So that's the sort of thing that Aspen is doing here. He's making fun of those same people who back then told the miners to just learn to code. So he's sort of doing that.
That's a lot of stuff that you're reading into that tweet.
So I read it into the tweet because I've heard Aspen speak about this before in the same way. So I sort of believe that it's the same sort of connection. But there's a video of it as well. So when you watch the video, you sort of get the same sense. At least that's the sense that I got. I don't believe, and maybe it is just because I don't believe that AI is going to kill actual artists. I don't think you're suddenly going to get games that are entirely done by AI. I don't think AI can. If you've ever played something like Death Stranding or even something like Elden Ring, an AI cannot make Elden Ring. There are times where you're standing high up on like peaks and you're looking down at the world of Elden Ring. It's clear that there was a human that designed this because they wanted you to feel something. But they wanted you to experience something.
So here's the problem, right? You're saying AI is not going to replace artists. You're probably right. The really talented artists are still going to be able to stand out from all the AI slop. Here's the situation. How does a talented artist get to become a talented artist? They're not born that way. Very much the same way that you and me weren't born content creators. We made a lot of fucking sloppy garbage videos before we got to where we are. When I say you and me, I mean like literally anybody in the space that you can think of has made bad videos. 100%, because that's the only way to eventually get better. But they were supported during those bad videos. So what happens if new artists that are trying to break into the industry, they're not going to be able to compete with the AI because they're not going to be skilled enough. They're not going to have the skills necessary to really showcase their work. And if they can just easily be copied and maybe even surpassed by AI because they haven't really gotten to experience and really learn what you just put out as the soul of what the piece of art is, there's not going to be up and coming artists because AI is going to just like, why would you pay this artist that still hasn't gotten like his foot in the door, that is still not talented enough to really create good art pieces, when you can just go to the AI and just be like, make a drawing, and the AI goes like, here you go, 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Boom. I
get what you're saying.
And this is one of the things that really bothers me about the Studio Ghibli situation. Like, I get it. It's like, it's fun memes and it's all good and stuff, but it's like, fundamentally, Studio Ghibli is fucked. And you're not going to say that Studio Ghibli isn't talented. They are. They're brutally talented. The guy who's like the top dog there, I think he's called Miyazaki as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, super talented. And it's not even just about the art itself. It's about the storytelling. It's more than just the art style. But imagine how they feel when you can now just go and draw literally anything in Studio Ghibli's art. Like, you could take a picture of my face, put it on ChatGPT, and say, draw Rurikon in fucking Studio Ghibli, right? Yeah. And it's like, that's fucked up. I think that's fucked up.
Yeah.
But, you know.
So here's the thing. They're going to have their comeuppance in the same way that most YouTubers do, that most artists or people in the art industry do. Most actors start out as waiters, right? And you wait tables until you learn how to act, and you go to acting school, and you eventually craft a role for yourself, right? Most YouTubers start by having a job and doing it on the side until you get good enough to actually be noticed. Artists are going to have to do the same thing, because I do think the ones that AI will kill are the Etsy artists. I think most of the Etsy artists are going to get wiped out by this, right? Because a lot of the Etsy stuff, I'm not saying all, there are some really good artists on Etsy, but there are also a lot that I've seen that's like, bro, AI may as well have made this, because it lacks soul. It's clearly just a picture that was made with the idea, let's make some money. You know, let's get some cash. There's no story being told. There's no actual emotion being conveyed in it. And I get it. These guys are just trying to make a quick buck, right? They're just trying to make some extra moolah. And that's fine. And AI is going to cost them their jobs. But fundamentally, it is what it is. I'm not suggesting that AI will not kill a lot of careers, but I guess because my brother studies AI, he works with AI every single day. And he's now doing his master's in mathematics with an AI coding angle, right? And even he says the idea that AI will ever be on the level of human intelligence, human creativity, doubtful, because it lacks perspective. It cannot look at something it's created the same way that me and you can look at it and get a feeling. Right? It doesn't have that feeling. So it can make good pictures, but the picture doesn't have... It's sort of like when I take a picture on my phone, and then I look at like an actual photographer taking a picture. I'm like, dude, I took a picture of this mountain, but mine looks shit. Mine is just the mountain. Whereas the photographer, he's not looking at just the mountain, right? He's looking at the story that the mountain tells. An AI can't do that, because it's also just going to be like me, click, mountain, go. Right? I've given you a mountain. But I get your fear, and I do think there's probably going to be regulation around AI at some point.
You're not going to regulate AI. It's not going to happen, because here's the problem. How are you going to regulate it? And this is where we start getting a little bit political almost, so I'm going to be very short. But how are you going to regulate AI? Like, let's say, for instance, we're talking about, we have to have regulations in AI in the West. China ain't regulating shit. They don't give a fuck. They're like, our AI is better. Yeah. Fuck you guys. Don't care.
Yeah, I mean, the problem right now is... you do have groups in specifically California that are fighting for what they call ethical AI consumption, or ethical AI something. It's not consumption. It's not even development. It's implementation, but it has a different word. Maybe someone in the comment. Yeah, but
deployment.
Basically, exactly. Yes, I think deployment, industry deployment. I think it is ethical AI industry deployment, which the whole idea from their perspective is exactly what you and I are talking about here, right? Is AI can be brilliant, but it can also be very destructive. And what we desperately need is to ensure that AI is celebrated for what it can do brilliantly, but we stop what makes it very destructive. And one of their biggest fears, I watched the whole podcast on this, for one of the guys that started one of these think tanks. One of their biggest problems is right now, every company in the AI space is in competition with every other company to be there first.
Yep.
So they don't give a shit about efficacy or what is ethical. I just want to be there first, right? Who's going to be the first person to create the AI that destroys the world effectively? Right?
We're racing to our own destruction, racing to our own annihilation. Yeah. It's like, let's see how fast we can really bring about the Terminator movie. Let's see how fast we can make that happen.
Yeah, and the problem is because they're racing towards this, because remember, whoever comes up with AGI, artificial general intelligence first, is a trillionaire, multi-trillionaire overnight. The countries of the world will be bidding themselves into bankruptcy for that AI, because whoever owns that AI first rules the world, because you're going to basically kill entire countries in seconds. And since everyone's racing towards it, not a single person ever stops to go, is this a good idea? Like, should we actually allow this guy access to satellites that can drop nukes?
Probably not the best of ideas.
Let's build some satellites that can drop nukes at sea.
Yes, it's so much fun. Just throw nukes out into space. See what happens.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just like, let's do this.
What's a little
Can this thing destroy the moon?
What's a little bit of radiation between friends? You know, it's like, who cares?
Yeah, it's like everyone's just racing towards it. So I do get the idea, right? The fear that people are.
Elephant's foot in a couple of more places in the world. What can go wrong?
It's such a nice thing. It's so mysterious when I watch the YouTube videos. I want to see it up close.
Oh yeah, I want to see an elephant's foot like right next to me. In its prime too, because the one we have right now is decayed. We need one in its prime.
Yeah, we need one that's new. God. Is it really that dangerous? Let's see. So fundamentally, I get the fears, but at the same time, I also get the people that sort of sick and tired of the crybabies that literally stand against everything AI, right? And that also sadly happens. On the one side, you have the people that's just gung-ho, let's do all AI all the time. And on the other side, you have the people that go, no, we need to go back to the Stone Age. We need to go back to where people work shit with hammer and chisel, no computers, everything is evil. And it's like, bro, you're not going to stop this. We have to find a golden midway.
We can't stop evolution. AI is here to stay, whether you like it or not. So
yeah, we have to stop the bad things for AI. So we have to find a golden midway. What's the golden road, right?
Like I think that for the whole thing of AI just copying art styles, I think that it should not do that because it's going to fuck over with the artistic industry like way too much. And it's just like the problem with AI is that the basis of AI is data scraping right now. That is the fundamental basis of AI. Yes, there's a lot of complex calculations and all of that stuff, but what fuels AI is data scraping. And by the way, I was when I was with an MCN, which I left an MCN, they wanted to pay me money to scrape my videos. Also, I noticed that my camera freeze. So the basis of AI is essentially data scraping. And because of that, this is something that we need to take a long, hard look at how ethical data scraping is, because you're fundamentally, no, that was not it. Fuck, I know what I was talking about. I know where I was. And so after I left the MCN, the guys at the MCN wanted to give me money to scrape my videos for their AI. And I was like, no,
wow,
I don't want you to scrape my videos for your AI. They were offering me like thousands of dollars for the privilege of being able to scrape all of my videos. And I was like, no, screw that. I don't want none of this. But of course, this is them asking. I don't know if they actually did it or not. There's no way for me to find out. For all I know, they scraped all of my shit and there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, yeah. No, I do agree with you, right? That is definitely a conversation that needs to happen. That's part of the efficacy conundrum that we're currently stuck with. That's why I made so much fun of the guys that made ChatGPT, can't remember what are they called again?
OpenAI. When they claimed that
DeepSeek copied them, and they're like, "Oh, they copied our code." I'm like, "Bitch, you copy everyone's work. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? Your whole shit's data scraping. Like they just did the same thing to you."
Yeah, you genuinely cannot sit there and complain. That's pot kettle black. Yeah. Welcome, bro. Yeah, please don't do this shit. But fundamentally, to bring this home, Asmongold said this, and I think on the surface you can probably say a little bit mean spirited, but at the same time, I understand the concept that he's trying to bring across, and I do think that if you are someone who is in a position where your career could very quickly disappear as a result of AI, you do have to start thinking about a job change, because that shit's not stopping. It's going to go fast.
One of the things that I would bring up is that this was not an Asmongold tweet. Somebody else tweeted something that Asmongold said in a stream. Because when you're saying that Asmongold puts out a tweet, I'm like, wow, that's a really fucked up tweet to put out. When it's like as part of his stream, then I'm like, okay, that could have been a joke for all we know. So it's like, that's a different thing.
Sorry, I should have.
Yeah, because when you said
I should have made it clear. So thanks. Yeah,
I went and looked for it, and I was like, bro, he hasn't tweeted since fucking January. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, he tweets very little actually. Yeah. But yeah, it's the Yeet account that took his. He took a part of his stream, which is also why I read into it, because I've heard him speak about this exact issue before. And remember, the problem with clips, and that's oftentimes like even the first topic we spoke about, the problem with a clip from a stream is it almost always misses all of the context before and after.
Yeah. So it's like, right? I'm just saying that to me, it was a completely different thing when I saw, okay, so this is something that somebody else tweeted as part of a clip from his stream that is which is why I was like, okay, so Asmongold telling artists to become plumbers in a tweet, that's pretty fucked up. I don't think he would do that.
Funny though. That's still funny though.
You can think it's funny. I'm just saying that would be really fucked up, and that to me was out of character for something that Asmongold would do. Whereas him making a joke like that on his stream, that is completely on character. I would completely expect that shit. Yep, 100%.
Yeah. No, but still funny as shit. But okay, back to the Ubisoft thing that we were going to be talking about. The people, remember the guys leaving in boxes, same as the artists who are going to have to pack up their shit. And
you can't say the guys leaving in boxes. No, that sounds different.
You're right. That
sounds very different.
The guys leaving with boxes of the stuff that was on their desks. So Ubisoft... Okay, so Ubisoft announces yesterday. Actually, Ubisoft doesn't even announce this. It's the media, specifically the media that checks the stock exchanges. They're the ones who announce it. Ubisoft has just started a new subsidiary, so a new company. The new company is owned, it's worth about 4 billion euro, of which 1 billion euro comes from Tencent. So Tencent owns 25% of the subsidiary. Ubisoft then takes this subsidiary, takes the Assassin's Creed IP, the Far Cry IP, and the Rainbow Six Siege IP. And for those of you that are uninitiated, basically all of the profitable IP from Ubisoft.
All of the big Ubisoft IPs, yes.
Yeah. And that subsidiary now owns those IPs. It's now their IPs. It has nothing to do with Ubisoft anymore. First, before we continue, what do you make of that?
Okay, so really, really fun thing, especially because we were just talking about AI. So what I did yesterday is like, let me just say this for people that aren't aware, but I am terrible at business and my business acumen is atrocious. So I don't necessarily understand all this, but I had an idea where I was like, oh, I know something that can pretty much put this into a context that everybody can understand. So I put the whole article on ChatGPT and I tell ChatGPT, give me like the bullet points. And I was like, okay. So once ChatGPT has the thing loaded up and I was like, so would you say this is kind of like one of those Steam games that has a really shitty launch and then they rebrand and change the name slightly and try to get a second more successful launch, which is something that happens all the time?
Yeah.
And ChatGPT goes, exactly.
He gets it.
ChatGPT goes
it's like
exactly.
your teacher.
The only difference is that the Steam games, they're trying to get more money. Ubisoft is trying to get more money, but from Tencent.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's gold.
I was so impressed because I was like, surely ChatGPT is going to tell me I'm a fucking moron. But like, listen, here's the exact reply. It goes, exactly. This is essentially a corporate level rebrand and relaunch to make Ubisoft's most valuable franchises look fresh and more appealing to investors. Just like a struggling Steam game, changing its name, tweaking its mechanics, and re-releasing with a marketing push. It said it's literally the same thing.
Yeah,
which is hilarious.
Literally exactly what they did.
Now,
one of the
things that you didn't mention,
okay,
is that they are also shifting towards more live service games. So one of the things I didn't even see that. There's one of the things that they mention in the article that because of the industry's shift towards live service games, I think they say something like recurring revenue streams, and that is kind of like one of the points. So they're going to try. I mean, they're already doing Assassin's Creed kind of like a live service game because you can buy the materials. I don't know if you can do XP booster and coin doubler. Wouldn't surprise me. And if you can't do now,
I didn't see any of that in the cash up, but it's probably being added as we speak.
Because they do that on all the Assassin's Creed pretty much since Odyssey, I think. So it is very much already being developed as a live service, but basically that's what you can expect for all the other titles of Ubisoft is that is what they're going to do. They're going to add more of these live service elements and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, that's kind of like the point of them doing this subsidiary bullshit, which to me is just funny as fuck because Ubisoft is like so down in the fucking dumps that they need another company to own their IP to pretend that they're not so bad. Because at the end of the day, this is all about Ubisoft stock is in the toilet, so they're kind of like resetting the value of their IPs through another company. Just so fucking stupid.
So this creates an interesting little. So before I get to, there's an actual email that was leaked that's went out to all of the developers. So before I even get to that, this is an interesting move. So the first thing here is that you need to remember is Yves Guillemot, guys, is still in control. So the Guillemot family is still going to be running the show. But Tencent, from the beginning, wanted a seat on the board. Because their previous investments did not give them a seat on the board. Now they have a seat on the board. 25% is more than what you need. 10% more than what you need for a hostile takeover. So if the Guillemot family does not deliver, Tencent can absolutely hostile take over this bitch, and basically now it belongs to them, along with the best IPs. The other thing that this creates, because they do mention that the teams that are currently working on Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and Siege are also moving into this new subsidiary. So it's not even that Ubisoft is just pushing the IPs into this new subsidiary, and then the IPs are given to Ubisoft to develop or sold out to everyone. This subsidiary becomes its own studio now that makes its video games. And I think, so I'll explain exactly how I think the structure is going to work moving forward. But it does definitely open the door now for Ubisoft to also sell their IP to other people. Not sell, but rent it out, right? So you can buy the rights to make games in their IPs because the IPs now belong to a separate company if Ubisoft wanted to make extra cash on those IPs. Here's where we get to the email that was sent out to developers. It says, "Hello, everyone. I wanted to follow up immediately with all of you in Montreal, Quebec City, Sherbrooke, Saguenay, Barcelona, and Sofia after Yves' email regarding the new business unit that is being created. First and foremost, I want to emphasize that the agreement we announced is a powerful enabler and an exciting opportunity for Ubisoft. Now, what you need to read here is we're about to make a lot of money. Not you, the developers, but we, the upper echelons of Ubisoft, is about to make a bunch of cash. So it's very exciting for us. It will help us means them, accelerate our evolution and improve how we make games with greater focus and agility. None of this is actually speaking about the developers, right? No.
It's like, listen, we get the benefits, we get more money, we get all of these things, but you get to make better games.
Yeah. Wait, you'll see how they're not actually saying that, but hold on. Tencent's investment is a strong testament to their trust in our ability to grow Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. This is a direct result of the incredible work you've done in making these franchises iconic as a lead or major co-dev studio. I also want to be clear, if you're not currently working on these brands, it doesn't mean your work matters any less. This agreement will benefit all of Ubisoft, giving us the means to spark more innovation and creativity across the board. This marks the beginning of a new chapter, and you play a vital role in shaping it. Now, this is where it changes. Now, remember, guys, it's not what they say. You don't listen to all of this, because this is just fluff. They're telling the developers, don't worry. In the coming weeks and months, we will work hard to build the best organization possible for Ubisoft, for our teams, and for our players. Of course, and this is where we get to everything that now nullifies what came before. This brings some uncertainty and questions. Right now, we may not have all the detailed answers, but we are committed to communicating with you transparently and regularly. Supporting you through this transition is the top priority for your local and your global leadership teams. That says, we're not announcing layoffs yet, but
they're
we're
happening.
Definitely open to it.
We are definitely going to dick you over. It's just we still have to decide how bad of a dicking it's going to be. Okay, and it is what it is.
So if you want my opinion on how hard that dicking is going to be, there's two options here. Option number one is that the new subsidiary almost definitely only takes the most talented developers of all of those teams, so all of the developers aren't moving over. This is a nice way for Ubisoft to downsize from their 18,000 plus developers to a more manageable 800, 900 developers for all three of those IPs. Even maybe smaller as they start hiring new, more good developers onto these teams. But I do think a lot of people are going to be laid off. Then here's where it happens two ways. The first is Ubisoft does keep operating, and they just use this as an announcement to basically gut most of Ubisoft and turn it into a very much a streamlined company that makes, because Ubisoft still has some other IPs, Prince of Persia, Rayman, Anno. These are all IPs that Ubisoft still has, right? That they would probably still want to be making games in. So that's option number one. Option number two is a little bit more nuclear. Option number two, Ubisoft guts all game development on Ubisoft's side and only keep the publishing label. Then they use the other IPs like Anno, Rayman, Prince of Persia, selling them to other studios in order to pay back the $1.4 billion euro debt that they have, and basically just end up with maybe like 200-300 publishing developers in Ubisoft, and then have a deal with this new subsidiary that's either a first look deal or an exclusive deal where Ubisoft exclusively publishes the games that this new subsidiary makes. Those are the two options in front of us. Both of these options include one thing, and one thing is certain.
Layoffs.
Yes, we're about to see a reckoning in the gaming industry like the world has never seen before. I imagine we're going to hear about, I don't want to put an exact number on it because it could happen over the course of a year or so. But I would say by the end of this, you're probably looking at more than 10, maybe even 12, 13,000 developers being out on their ass. And before people start feeling sorry, a lot of these developers don't belong there. A lot of these developers aren't good developers. If they were, Ubisoft wouldn't be bankrupt right now. or at least they would be bankrupt, but not quite this bankrupt.
It's like, this is where I don't agree with you. I think that a lot of the people in there might be talented. It's just the absolute hubris of the management at Ubisoft was like, oh yeah, COVID, this is fucking fantastic. Look at all the sales we're making, bro. We need more developers to make more games so that we can keep this momentum going. And then they grossly overhired. And now here's why I don't work.
So here's why I don't agree. This is why I said Ubisoft would still be bankrupt, but it wouldn't be quite this bad. Ubisoft is bankrupt because of bad management, right? I mean, Ubisoft is bigger than most trillion-dollar companies. Like, I think Ubisoft actually has more people working for it than like Google or something the other day I saw. So Ubisoft has like shit tons of developers, way more than what it needs. Ubisoft, by developer count, is the largest gaming company in the gaming industry by a mile. Right? Even people like EA don't employ as many people as Ubisoft does. So management is super bad at Ubisoft. But the problem with Ubisoft and why I think it has a lot of deadweight developers, they produce fail after fail after fail after fail after fail. These developers don't even have the ability to produce good games.
But right? Is it the developer's fault?
So here's why I believe it has to be on some level. You can tell me that a game is buggy because they didn't have enough time. That wasn't true for Star Wars Outlaws, and it's not true for Assassin's Creed Shadows. The game didn't have not enough time. Both of these games had more than enough time. You can maybe tell me that the formulaic approach was because of them being rushed. Again, wouldn't be true for Star Wars Outlaws or for Assassin's Creed Shadows. They had more than enough time to make the game. Places where the executive produce or the executive staff have no say on what is in the game would be the type of gameplay. They don't make decisions there. And the storytelling, writing. They don't. I highly doubt that Andrew Wilson has ever read a single script for a game made by EA. Why would he? It's not his job. His job is just to fund the game and make sure the game comes out, right?
But it's like,
he's not.
If we look at that, right? Yeah. There's going to be one team lead that is going to decide what goes in the story, what doesn't. There's going to be one team lead that decides what's a gameplay mechanic, what's not. I mean, considering that there's 20,000 people in that goddamn well, there was. Now there's like 18,000 or whatever. But even considering there's 18,000 people, there's probably more than one leader for those positions. Like there's probably like 2 story leads, 2 gameplay leads, all of this shit. And it's like, the guy who is working on the gameplay and like figuring out, okay, what's the damage on this? What's the thing? Blah, blah, blah. He might be talented. But then the guy that's above him that's going like, yeah, that's all great, but this armor actually needs to be weaker. And the guy goes like, well, why? Well, because we're going to sell a better one in the store. Is this the fault of the guy who's doing the gameplay stuff? Or is this the fault of the lead guy who's going like, well, we're going to sell a better one at the store, so don't care.
Well, you see, but this is exactly my thing. Since we can't know where the failures were, all I can look at is say these games were objectively failures. Not even just in sales figures. Like, let's not even care about, because you do get games that are actually phenomenal, but they just end up not really selling, right? For whatever reason. These games are objective failures just based on how the story is told, how many failures there are, the decisions that they make that no one really cares about and that people complain about, like bringing out a Star Wars game, open world, but every mission is sneak. It's like, bro, what? I want to fight with this lightsaber. I want to do like actual Star Wars stuff, but you're just having me sneak in every mission because someone thought that was a good idea at some level. So because I can't know exactly who's being blamed, all I know is there is date weight. Now, I don't think we could argue over what percentage of date weight there is, right? That's why I said I don't want to put a number on the amount of developers that's going to be fired because, or laid off, sorry. I should use the more clean word, of course, because that one wants to get fired. That's an ugly word. It makes people feel sad. We'll use layoffs, right? But I can't say the number because I don't know who is the date weight in the studio and who are actually developed crazy good developers that's just been held back because of bad decisions, right? But I do know, if you tell me, and this was said before Assassin's Creed Shadows even came out, more than half of that team, this is the first time they've ever made a video game, I'm willing to bet that most of those devs are probably not there because of talent. A lot of those guys are there because they just needed bodies, because Ubisoft has lost. I've spoken to quite a few developers who used to work for Ubisoft who now work for AA studios or have started their own indie stuff. And all of them say the same thing. Most of the good devs are gone because good devs happen to want to work on good games, and good devs, because they're gamers, understand when a game is going to be shit, right? They know. Like, imagine if you were a developer at Monster Hunter, right? And suddenly the boss for Monster Hunter, a new boss, the old guy's gone. He comes to you and he says, okay, so here's the plan. We're going to make this game, but before you can kill this boss, you have to pay money in order to go get material. The material can't be farmed. And then the most difficult version of this boss is also hidden behind a paywall. You as a developer would immediately go, this is a shit idea. This is not going to be good. The community is going to be outraged by this. And you're most likely immediately going to start looking for another job, because what you want to make is not what you're making. Right?
See, that's the problem, though. Not everybody's going to think like that, and not everybody's going to have the, how should I put it? Not everybody's going to have the flexibility of just going like, well, I want to go get another job. Some people have families.
No, of course not.
It's not like
of course not.
You don't have that option. You're just fucked. Because like, oh, I can't go out looking 100%. For another job because I have to deal with this other situation with my kids or with my wife or whatever. And that's all I'm saying. That's why I have maybe more empathy for the people that are getting fired. And the other thing for me is that usually what I've seen with these layoffs is that the people responsible for the failures of the game very rarely end up paying the price. Like a perfect example of this is Bungie.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like the higher ups at Bungie haven't seen any backlash at all. Whereas the people who are like screaming at them like, let us make the game good, those people got fucking fired. So that's the problem.
No, I absolutely agree with you, right? And I think this is one of those things where two things is true at the same time.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of dead weight developers that need and deserve to lose their jobs because they're bad at their jobs.
That are fucked.
There are, right? And those guys I do have sympathy for. And I hope that they get picked up by other people. And I think it couldn't have happened at a better time, because I do think there's a major shakeup happening in the games industry now, with a lot of developers waking up to the reality that the DEI stuff didn't work. It was a nice idea, but fundamentally, we need to make money. And we can either be ideological or we can make money, but we clearly can't be both. Not in the way that we think we can. So I think now is a great time to be sort of on the cusp of this. But then at the same time, where I agree with you, what is disgusting is how Yves Guillemot clearly is one of the people that should be blamed for the bullshit at Ubisoft. And Yves Guillemot is not dying. And someone said this on my video yesterday. When you owe the bank $100,000, you have a problem. When you owe the bank $1 billion, the bank has a problem.
Yep.
And that's the issue with rich assholes. You see, if this was me or you, we would be sitting here. You would literally be watching the bank remove my shit as we're doing this podcast, taking everything to repay those loans. When
Repo
Ubisoft
guy coming in, taking that shelf from behind you.
Just everything gets taken. I'll be holding the mic to say goodbye as they take everything, right? Ubisoft does it, and the bank goes, well, we can see you're in financial distress. How about this? We're going to look this way. We're going to get this book here. And while we do this, you set up another company, move all of your valuables out of this one that we're about to gut to shit, right? And once you're nice and comfy, you go, and then we go, all right, let's go. Let's get to work. Let's remove everything from this company. It's like, man, these guys just always get a golden parachute.
Absolutely.
They land softly in pillows while everyone else gets absolutely turded on, right? Because that's just the game, and that's how the game is played.
It's a big club, and you're not on it.
Yeah, we're not allowed in. But the one thing that I will say that makes me happy is that Ubisoft is failing. What doesn't make me happy is that the person that I really wanted to see fail is not failing. That's Yves Guillemot. I still don't say his name correctly. And now I'm going to probably have to learn because the asshole isn't going away anytime soon.
Yeah. They're gonna get a golden parachute. Ubisoft's gonna get away with all the bullshit that they've done because guess what, guys? That's the world we live in.
Yeah,
it's that simple. But nobody has to pay for the bullshit that they do, except for you and me.
Yeah. There was a movie where the quote was something like "Good guys die young, but the assholes live forever." It's sort of like, yep, that's just so true. This is so true, man. What a depressing time to be a gamer when you see this kind of crap happen. And what we were hoping for was the destruction of Ubisoft because it would have allowed for new companies to come in and actually make good games with their IPs. That was the hope, but no, we're stuck with this bullshit. And now, on top of that, more live service. They're probably now going to go, well, you've seen nothing yet. You thought Assassin's Creed was live service? Hold my beer, bitch. I'm about to show you Assassin's Creed live service. This is going to be biblical.
So, Ubisoft going to stick around. And even though they're going to be called, you should call it Ubisoft 2.0 because that's essentially what it is. Twice the greed.
But maybe this one goes bankrupt too because they're not good. Like Yves Guillemot clearly doesn't know how to run a company.
Yeah, but the
maybe
funny
this
thing
one
is,
goes bankrupt.
like, listen, 10 years from now, they're going to be like, okay, so we're going to make this new subsidiary.
Yeah.
And all of our assets are going to move because that's the infinite money glitch. That's how that works now. It's just like, and the worst part. So like, if we actually think about it, the worst possible scenario came to light, which is Ubisoft's going to get away with it scot-free, no problems. Yep. And all of the other companies, rather than getting a warning, which is what we thought was going to happen, because it's like, oh yes, Ubisoft's getting punished for all their bullshit business practices. Exactly the opposite happened. Ubisoft didn't get punished. They found a way out. And on top of it, they showed all of the companies the way out, which means that now all of the other companies are going to feel even more emboldened. They're like, oh, hell yeah, we can do what Ubisoft did. And if shit hits the fan, we'll just sell a bunch to Tencent and we make a subsidiary. Yeah. It's like, bro, this is the worst possible timeline.
There's one beautiful thing about this. Tencent and NetEase has shown that they're very unreliable partners. Like, they will drop you in a heartbeat. Like they've done. We covered this a few weeks ago where they just went to a bunch of smaller studios and they were just studios. Like, peace out, bitch. You know,
no more money.
Chat.
Hearts in chat is wild, bro. What the fuck? NetEase goes out there and he's like, hearts in chat.
Hearts in chat. It's like, you know, let's go. I said, wow. All right, here we go. This is wild.
You, fam. You can make it out there in the Wild West. Not without money.
Not without money, but good luck. So, you know, that might happen. Fucked. That might actually happen. From one bad developer to the next before we get to some good news, because you guys thought we're just going to do bad news? No. We have some good news in this bitch as well. But a little bit more bad news, and this is very quick. I don't think it's going to be an ex-developer that worked at Bethesda during the Skyrim days, so very long ago, and was there up until like Starfield, has revealed why Bethesda is no longer the studio they used to be. And he spoke after the GDC. He spoke to, I believe it was The Gamer that spoke to him, and he revealed that the things that people loved about Skyrim wasn't main planned content. It was stuff that developers were doing on the side for fun. And so while developers were designing stuff, they were like, oh, I wonder if I could. And then they just start designing this little side project. And then other developers would see the side project and they'd be like, oh shit, this sounds like, dude, I want to do this. I have a plan for this. By the time they get to Starfield, he said if you spent even a day off schedule, so all developers would get this schedule, and they have to do this on a Monday, this on what needs to be finished when. If you spent even a day not sticking to the schedule, you'd get a warning. And you'd eventually be fired if you don't stick to the schedule. And the schedule is decided upon by committee. So it's like a bunch of like the leads, they meet in a room, they decide what the game is going to be, and then all the developers are just told, go, make this. Right? So there's literally, it's sort of, he in his own words call it, the games became designed by committee. So it's not developers having these really unique creative ideas that they come up with. It's just a group of people in a room deciding this is what we're doing next, and let's just run with it. And before I get you in on this, it reminds me of Witcher 3. In a documentary about Witcher 3, they spoke to CD Projekt Red, and they asked, why is there so much side content in Witcher 3? Like, so many side quests and stuff. And the CEO at the time of CD Projekt Red, I believe he's still the CEO, but he was the CEO during Witcher 3 as well, said they eventually had to go to the developers and be like, it's enough. It's enough. We have enough bloody side content in this game. Because the developers that had they were waiting to do stuff, they were just like, I have an idea. And then they'll just start creating a new quest line. And they'll just add all these quest lines to the game because everyone's just adding new ones. Like, originally, the idea was that there's going to be only like 2 endings. They ended up like 4 or 5 endings because some dude just had an idea for another ending. And they're like, well, I'm going to do this. And they just start adding shit. And eventually they're like, boys, whoa, we have to ship this game at some point. You guys just keep adding shit to the game. So there's like a ghost ship in Witcher 3 that was a quest line. It was supposed to be a quest line, but it never got finished because they eventually said, boys, enough, we have enough stuff. But you can still see the ghost ship. If you stand on the shore for long enough, you'll see the ghost ship coming by. That's what games used to be, right? Now, what do you think of this?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the whole thing where you just develop a game by committee and you don't adapt. The way that you were describing it basically reminds me of the development of Anthem, which was every time the developers would come up to the leads and they'd be like, hey, listen, like, Destiny is doing things like this. And if we do it like what you guys are saying, that's going to be a problem. Yeah. And the leads came out and they were like, we don't give a fuck what anybody else is doing. We're doing our own thing. And it's like, well, it doesn't work like that anymore because especially if you're trying to compete in a certain, in a certain market, you have to see what your competition is doing. And I don't mean necessarily copy it or whatever, but at least be aware of what the audience's expectation is. And that's one of the reasons why Anthem flopped terribly. It's because they didn't know all of the things that their competition was doing, and they were just like trying to develop the game in a bubble. And that's kind of like where you get if you have, the leads just decide whatever it is that you do and you don't take creative input from anyone. Like, that's never going to work properly. And it's just a terrible idea because oftentimes some of the best ideas come from the devs that are lower on the totem pole, which is why Witcher 3 is so amazing because people just kept making stuff because they were passionate about it. And Starfield is not because, even though I will still say I liked certain aspects of Starfield. I thought there were a couple of
there were aspects, but I would say the problem with Starfield is it had nothing iconic.
Yeah.
There were moments where you could go, oh, yeah, this is fine. This is a game.
I liked making my own ship. That was really cool to me. Being able to design my own ship and actually getting to go inside of it and seeing the interior and tweak all of that. That to me was awesome. That was like my favorite part of it. And actually having space combat, that was cool too. Although I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I liked it.
I would agree with you. I thought the space combat was decent. It was at least, it was serviceable, right? But I would say the problem with Starfield, and you can look at every single game like this, right? There's nowhere in the world a perfect game. It doesn't exist. Perfect games cannot be made, especially not for everyone. You might get a game that's perfect for someone, but even then, if you really start poking and prodding, you'll find that even that game that someone thinks is perfect isn't a 10 out of 10. It's like a 9 or maybe an 8, but they can always think of something in the game where they're like, I would probably have done this a little different, right? But games that are brilliant tend to be brilliant because it has at least one thing that becomes iconic, right? This is so good. I've never seen this in another game. I want this. All games that become this sort of zeitgeist moment has that. So Pal World, for example, very good example of this, where the way they use the pals to basically turn the game into almost a unique kind of survival game is what makes the game iconic. It's what takes the game from just being another bog standard survival game. For those of you that don't know, around Pal World,
the automation of survival tasks, yes.
The automation of survival tasks, the automation of the eating and the drinking eventually, the cuteness and the fluffiness of it all. But then you compare it, because Pal World didn't come out in a bubble. Right around Pal World, you had Nightingale that launched. And then you had the other one, the one with the scary sort of mists, Enshrouded,
which is awesome.
That launched. It's not a bad game, but it didn't manage to do what Pal World did. Because Enshrouded is just a good survival game. But it doesn't do anything beyond what you can find in a lot of other survival games.
Actually,
it just does it decent.
Did you play Enshrouded?
I did, yeah. I got bored because there's no automation. I said before, Pal World destroyed survival games for me. Yeah. I will never again be able to play a survival game because the second I log into survival game, I'm like, wait, I have to chop all the trees forever? Bullshit. Where's my pal? Where's the thing chopping these trees? I'm not doing it, right? I am now a spoiled little first world problems. Where's my slave doing this shit for me? I don't understand why I have to do this. Give me my pals. Right, so I don't like doing it. But what did you want to say about Enshrouded?
I was saying they do have some unique things that you could, some unique mechanics, like the shroud mechanic is quite unique to that specific
That
game,
was fun. That was actually fun, yeah.
So
the thing I didn't like was the fact that I like the idea that a lot of the rare materials is in the dangerous place, right? You have to go to the shroud in order to get like the very cool stuff to make cool stuff with. So I didn't mind the shroud bit. I do think the game would do better with automation for the basic stuff. Like, I'm not talking about, getting like super rare materials inside the shroud. That's fine. That's part of gameplay because even Pal World does this.
But they're still developing it. They can still add some automation at some point.
I'm hoping that they do. Yeah. I'm hoping that they do. Because they technically can, because you do collect those town folk people, right? Technically, those people can go out and do like actual automation tasks. Right now, though, those dudes just sort of walk around your base because I think they just added walking. Before, they would just stand in one place and just be like,
yeah,
wait for you to go talk to them. Now, apparently, they do move about a little. Now, let them move and do shit. Like, actually help me with shit. Then we're talking, right? But I also get that for some people, like I have even people in my community that hate the fact that Pal World has automation. Because they tend to play with friends. And with friends, the automation is everyone does stuff together, right? So they prefer that you do the stuff. So they're like Valheim and stuff like that. But for me, Pal is the one. But anyways, the point was just, you're going to have to be iconic. And
yeah,
2 heads is better than 1. You're always going to have more creativity from the people actually making the game. Because anyone that's ever made content will know this. If you just go sit down and you go, right, I have to think about a video topic. It's super difficult to think of that topic. Yep. But then you go play the game. And as you're playing, you go, bro, this no one's covered this. I'm going to talk about this because, I want to talk about this thing. Creativity comes while you're busy doing the thing. You come up with this crazy cool idea and you want to put that in.
And because the leadership team are not the ones actually making the thing, they don't get to experience that part of the creative process, and therefore there's no feedback loop. Because then the developers might go up to the leadership and go like, hey, wait, we should probably do this. But instead, the news that we got at the time was that we had Todd Howard seagulling, which was going up to people's ideas and just shitting all over them and then moving on. He's like, nah, bro,
because he's
stupid,
Todd, bro.
And your idea is shit, and do what I said and shut the fuck up, bitch. And then that's it.
I mean, they say necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And the same concept applies to creativity. Creativity happens as you're doing something, because that's when you discover, while you're making this feature, you go, dude, wait, if we do this, that could be so cool. The guys that's making the decision in the boardroom, they're never going to see that, right?
No
That's never going to come across because they're not making the thing. They don't know what it's missing. So yeah, fundamentally, that was just a really interesting little reveal. But now on to really good news. And Rurikon was actually shocked that I had watched this.
I can't believe you would watch this. That was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I watched it. Monster Hunter, its first title update, or title update 1, I guess is what you guys call it.
So
title 1 update, or is it title? It's updates.
It's the first free title update, but eventually with time it becomes known as title update 1. So it's title like right now we just call it the first free title update, but eventually, friggin' a year from now, we'll be just referencing this as TU1, title update 1. But so why did you watch it?
Because you know it already. No. I haven't played Monster Hunter Wilds yet, not because I think it's a bad game, but for those of you that still don't know, I go through phases in life, and I have to be in my Monster Hunter phase for me to play Monster Hunter. And I'm not in that phase right now. Right now, I'm in a different phase. I'll get to the Monster Hunter phase eventually, and then I want to play it. But it's also why I decided to play Atomfall rather than Kazan. I'm in that sort of phase at the moment. So I'll move into a different phase at some point. But no, I watched it because I'm mega interested in Monster Hunter. And so when one of my viewers popped in and they're like, dude, did you see the new title update? I first had to ask, what title update? What does that mean? And then they're like, bro, it's huge. And I watched it, and dude, there's one armor. There's one scene where they're sort of going, they're just panning past a bunch of armors. And there's like one blackish armor where I was just like, what? Dude, I want that shit.
Black
that looks
and white
insane.
armor, right?
Yeah.
Armor. Yeah, that's the armor from the final boss, because it wasn't in the game at release. I think it was purpose that they didn't put that monster on release, and it's actually a bit of a controversy, because a lot of people in the community are like, oh, the game wasn't finished and they're finishing it now. And I understand the sentiment, because we didn't get to fight the final boss more than once, which was a little bit of a weird decision. But basically, what is happening with this title update is that
it's huge. By the way, it blew me away. That's what I wanted to say, because you're used to these title updates.
Yeah,
I'll speak as someone who isn't used to this. I've never played a Monster Hunter game. I sat there and my first question to chat was, so how much is this? Because based on how much shit they're announcing, every other game that I have ever played, this would come with a price tag. This would be like $10 or $15. It's like, what do you mean? How much is this? This is just free.
This is going to surprise you, but we're going to get free title updates like this. Probably at least another 3 of them, but more than likely we're going to get like 4 or 5, I think. Usually that's the way that it goes. And it's going to be over the course of the next 18 months or so. We're going to be getting these every couple of months, these updates. And for this first update, what we are getting is actually something that usually we get in the base game. This is why people are upset.
Oh, yeah.
That's
the armor.
No, it's not just the armor. It's the gathering hub. So the gathering hub is a place where you can go and you can hang out with the other hunters. The thing
But
is,
it looks cool though.
In previous
games,
it
looks cool.
Yeah. In previous games, you would not be able to hang out with other hunters in the village. So the village is a single player thing. And then you can only hang out with the other hunters in the gathering hub. So that's why, we needed the gathering hub in the other games. And this one is not as important because you can hang out with the other guys in the villages. And so a lot of us even thought that we're not getting a gathering hub. But then they announced, no, we are getting a gathering hub. It's going to come later. So title update 1, you get the gathering hub. And the gathering hub is going to be massive. It's going to have like a place where you can fish. They're adding mini games in the form of barrel bowling.
Dude, I want to do the barrel rolls. That looked amazing. And guys, we're not being sponsored by Monster Hunter. I will never take a sponsorship from Monster Hunter, but I will say this.
I would.
I looked at that and I was like,
they haven't offered.
Yeah, you would. I wouldn't, right? Because then I have to play the game, even if I would never take a sponsorship from any gaming company, really, because then I would have to play the game, even if I don't want to play the game. But dude, I was looking at those barrels and I was like, here we go. This is how you get me to play Monster Hunter.
Do you know that you can do that against monsters? You can pick up a barrel, throw it against a monster, and it will explode in the monster's face.
I would actually play that as a class. Let's go. Like barrel thrower. Let's go. Like that just looks. I like games like that. So I'm a huge fan of games like that, right? Where you have to sort of aim it and then use the environment to get as many points as possible. I love shit like that. So those mini games just have me. It's like in Final Fantasy 14, the chocobo racing.
Yeah.
Did I spend 3 days chocobo racing? That's all I did was just race chocobos.
Well, you can also do a lot of fishing in this game, so that's another one that you maybe.
I'm not a huge fishing guy, but the barrel throwing, I will say, like before you get into everything you get, it looked amazing. That gathering hub, the way everyone eats together, and there's sort of these dances and stuff happening, and there's music shows that's gonna be happening, or like rituals that's happening.
That one I've never gotten to experience because the diva has been in other Monster Hunter games. I believe she was in Monster Hunter DOS, Monster Hunter 4, and Frontier. I played 4 Ultimate, but I never got to the part. I mean, I think the diva shows up in G rank or something, and I didn't play too much in G rank for 4 Ultimate. But I never played DOS, and I never played Frontier. But yeah, that character has been in, or a character like that has been in those games. But basically, she does a musical performance. Supposedly, that's going to give you a massive buff when she does that. So it's kind of like a meal thing as well. I'm not 100% sure how it works. But yeah, that's going to be something that happens at the Gathering Hub. They're also adding arena quests, which we didn't have in the base game. Those are usually like, they give you a preset of gear, so you don't take your own gear. They give you like a preset gear, and it's kind of like a challenge mode. It's like you have to kill the monster with this gear, like make this gear work to kill the monster. They also give you like preset consumables and stuff like that. That's usually how arena quests go. We're also getting the repeatable quest for the final boss, and that's what's going to let us farm his armor set and his weapons. And the cool thing about his armor is that it appears that it's different depending on whether or not you unsheath your weapon. This is why if you look at the female version of the armor, it just looks like like a hooded type of thing. And then when you unsheath your weapon, the wings in the back open up and it's got wings. So it's a bit of a unique effect on armor. On the male version, you get like some dark stuff from the boss or whatever. And yeah, things kind of change, so that's going to be a really cool armor set. It's probably going to have like a specific armor set bonus associated with that boss, which is going to unlock like meta possibilities and whatnot. And then they're also adding Mizutsune, which is a returning monster. He's been in previous Monster Hunter games. This Mizutsune is kind of some type of amalgamation of existing Mizutsunes, because he not only has Mizutsune abilities, he also has abilities from another version of Mizutsune, which is called Soul Seer Mizutsune. And apparently there's going to be 2 different versions of him, because there's one that unlocks later, even though they didn't explain this in the title update, but there's one that unlocks later that's a much higher difficulty than the one that unlocks at the beginning. And then besides that, so there's the arena quests, Zoshia, the Gathering Hub, and Mizutsune. And then they're going to have the Blossom Festival. So what happens with the festivals, it's kind of like, you know how in World of Warcraft, it's Christmas. We redecorate the whole city to look like Christmas. Same thing, except it's just done for the Gathering Hub. And the first one is around the cherry blossoms in Japan. So that's why it's called the Blossom Festival or whatever they called it, which is going to be in spring. So that's going to be like closer on the 20-something of April. And basically the whole Gathering Hub gets a makeover for a couple of weeks, and they bring in a bunch of special event quests that are going to give you like special gear and stuff like that. It's probably going to be increased challenge monsters, so on and so forth. So there's going to be tons of content through that as well. And during that festival, they're bringing in a particularly hard monster, which is going to be Arch-Tempered Raidao. So there's a harder version of monsters that you unlock as you play through the game, which are called tempered monsters. They deal more damage than regular monsters, and they're more aggressive, and they give you better rewards. And then there's a level above that, which is the Arch-Tempered, which is like, this is the one-shot beast, kind of like that. That's usually the idea with the Arch-Tempered monsters. And they'll give you a new armor set, which is kind of like whatever the previous armor set gave you. This new one is going to give, take that up to 11. It's going to be way more powerful. But yeah, that's Arch-Tempered Raidao. And then they also teased the next title update, which is going to be in the summer. And that title update is going to bring in one of the most requested monsters to make a return. This is a monster that was made for Monster Hunter Tri, which was like, I don't know, 2008 or something like that.
Wow.
And he, people have been wanting him back in a mainline entry for the longest time. He was also present in Generations Ultimate, but people have wanted him in like one of these big entries. That's like Chris. He's going to be making a return. He's like this big Leviathan monster that he goes in, he's a water monster, so he goes into the water, does stuff with water. And it'll be interesting to see how they implement him here, but that was one of the things that people were the most excited for. So even though we're getting all this stuff with Title Update 1, a lot of people are like, yes, Legaia Chris, he's coming back. And that's only Title Update 2, like months from now. And we're already hyped about that, but yeah.
I just found it super interesting. So a lot of the stuff that I saw really blew me away, just how beautiful it is and how much clear effort they put into it. I really respected the fact that in order to give players new things to do, go borrow from what you've already done. No one said you have to keep reinventing the wheel, right? That's unnecessary. So you can do that. I think it's a very smart use of their time, very creative. But I was just blown away by the fact that it's all free.
Oh, I mean, no, there are things that are paid, but not...
but the cosmetic stuff.
Cosmetic stuff.
They did announce cosmetics, and they announced paid and free cosmetics, because they did say there's some stuff that you can just go get on the store that they're not going to be charging you anything for.
Yeah, like there's I think there was like a couple of classic gestures, like the flexing gesture and whatnot. That's going to be coming back, because that was something that was in previous games, but they're also going to sell you quite a few cosmetics to kind of try and support this, which personally I'm okay with. The biggest issue that I usually have with cosmetics is if they have like unique animations or things that kind of make them higher quality than stuff that is in game. Because to give an idea in terms of cosmetics when it comes to Monster Hunter, it's like once you get to high rank, any armor that you craft, and there's tons of armors to craft, any armor that you craft becomes a cosmetic. So like...
What do you mean?
You know how in World of Warcraft, whenever you pick up an item, it gets added onto like the library or whatever, and then you can...
so you can take other armors and turn it into that
No, it doesn't even work like that. It's like, imagine that you just create a set, and it's like, it just gets pasted on top of whatever you're using. Doesn't even matter what it is that you're using, and you just apply that. And there's no currency requirement or anything. You can change it as many times as you want, and it's like you just get permanent layered armor forever. So yeah, that's something that they do. Whenever you craft high rank armor, it just becomes a cosmetic.
Yeah. I do think when people because there might be some people who go, wait, why are you guys okay with a cash shop in this game that is obviously a $70 game and obviously is not a live service game, but you're not okay with Assassin's Creed, right? Doing the same thing. Here's why, right? I guarantee you will not see this level of update in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, I guarantee it.
You will see it. It's just going to cost you $10 or $20.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is, these updates, because what you'll usually see what Assassin's Creed will add, unless it's an expansion, which will add actual new content, they'll add new stuff that you can buy on the cash shop, right? Or they'll add like a new reason to play again, like a New Game Plus DLC, where you buy the Battle Pass and now you have New Game Plus and you can play that for $10 or whatever. But the reason I was immediately like, wait, how much are they charging for this? Is I'm aware that Monster Hunter is not a live service game, but this update is what you expect to see in live service games. Live service games will have these kind of updates because remember, the update is trying to get you to play as often as possible. So it needs to add new reasons for you to play. The fact that this comes in for free and the game is literally base price $70, there you go, play as much as you want. That was sort of like, whoa, okay, that I did not expect. Because usually games that just come out $70, people will now sort of go, but what about Baldur's Gate? They've added a shit ton of new content. Yeah, that's not normal. Yeah, that's not something we see in most games, right? So for them to have a cash shop, but then sort of explain their cash shop by actually doing live service level updates, that they deserve to have the cash shop. They can have that cash shop.
And this is just like I said, this is just title update 1. Title update 2 will bring more stuff, and then title update 4. And again, these are always like a celebration that the community gets together because like, oh, it's a new event. Let's check out the Gathering Hub. Let's see all the new event quests and all of that stuff. And everybody plays through the game again. Everybody continues to do the sets that they're working on, so on and so forth. It keeps the game alive and it keeps the game active, even though there's a lot of people in the community that don't like it because in previous games and even in the previous entry to this one, events were not timed. So some of these event quests are going to be timed during the festival. So it's like during the festival, you get to do these quests and then they go away. But then they come back in the next festival again and you get to do them again and so on and so forth. And then once the game goes into maintenance mode, which is like, hey, we've done all the things. What they've done with World is they just have the festivals. I think it's either every other week or every 2 weeks or something like that. So it goes like, okay, this week it's Spring Festival. Next week it's nothing. Next week it's Summer Festival. Next week it's... So it's like week on, week off. So they keep cycling the stuff and you're always getting the event quests available.
It's nice that it doesn't go away. In a lot of games, once the game goes into maintenance mode, that shit goes away.
No. They just made it in World so that it's constantly just like cycling the different festivals that we've had. So you get to re-experience that content. You just have to wait a little bit. So it's not like it was when we played it, which was like, oh, this content's coming in during spring, this content's coming in during summer. You still have to wait, but you wait way less than what we waited when the game was fresh, basically.
Yeah. Ooh, excuse me. I think it's good, right? I think it's allowed. I think they deserve to be really excited for how players feel because everyone in my chat was freaking out. Like, everyone in my chat was like, bro, this is huge. But okay, so from Monster Hunter Wilds, we have to get into, because we're already once again 2.5 hours. So sorry guys, no 2-hour show. It's going to be longer. But we have to talk about Sweet Baby Inc. Only this time we're not really talking about Sweet Baby Inc., but we are talking about someone that might be connected to Sweet Baby Inc., and that's Wings. And the funding expose
not
that
Wings
was
of
done
Redemption?
on Wings. No. Yeah, just Wings. Now, the exact story is very intricate and way too long to actually get into in a podcast, right? Because
this would fundamentally be its own podcast.
Yeah, you would basically need to do your own podcast for this just to work. But effectively, here is what has been exposed. This exposition comes at the thanks to Master of the TDS, who runs a channel called Gothic Therapy with his wife. And both of them, I believe, are therapists. I believe they do research as a job, right? So they that's what they basically used to do. They were researchers. Well, they're still researching. They do this in their free time. But he does a lot of this type of content where him and his wife deep dive into what are people up to, what makes everything connected, and how does these things connect. So fundamentally, Gothic Therapy comes across a company called Wings. Now, Wings itself is interesting because Wings Interactive, at first glance, doesn't look like they do anything. But when you look at who Wings controls, Landfall Games starts to pop up. Landfall Games is a company that claims to be completely independent, funding a bunch of other game studios around the world, making all sorts of DEI games, right? Like their main push is DEI. And they themselves market themselves as independent. But they aren't independent. They belong to Wings Interactive. And Wings Interactive, once you start going deep enough, you eventually, and by the way, I'm skipping over a lot of stuff here because, like I said, it would take a long time to cover everything. But okay, so once Master of the TDS tweets about Wings, something very interesting happens. Wings disappears. They delete and scrub their entire website. They remove all of their board members from literally anywhere where it could be mentioned or noticed. They go full quiet. This is literally the day that Master of the TDS tweets about Wings and that they're starting a research into or starting to look into Wings. Wings goes quiet. They no longer want to have anything to do with this. As they start digging and they start digging deeper, they eventually find, now I'm going to have to try and pronounce this. It says here, at the heart of the issue is France's Centre National du Cinéma et de l'Image Anime, right? Or CNC, which is a government agency.
Wait, let me pronounce that properly, okay?
Okay.
Le Centre National du Cinéma et de l'Image Animée and Syndicat National du Jeu Vidéo, which is the National Syndicate of Video Games. And the other one is the National Center of Image and Animated Pictures.
Yes. So thanks for those pronunciations. From now on, I will not be trying to pronounce those. But they're basically a government agency that funds film, animation, and video games with millions of euros annually, right? But here's where things get super sketchy. The center, or the CNC, this is the government agency, only funds projects as these projects are green-lighted by the SNJV, the Syndicat National, that one, right?
Yeah, the Syndicate of the National Syndicate of Video Games for France.
Yeah. That syndicate has the CEOs and the presidents of Wings and of Landfall Games and of a bunch of other companies connected to Wings. They sit on the board of this SNJV. So what happens is, as the department wants to fund video games, the syndicate awards themselves with the government money to make these super diverse video games.
Sacre
right?
bleu. Ça, c'est pas possible.
So that's literally the big reveal. And as you dig into it, they can't find, so this needs to be said, they don't immediately find a connection between Wings and this SNJV. Right? So they don't find an immediate connection. But as they keep digging, they find that one of the studios that belongs to Wings did get about 90,000 euro from the syndicate, from the French government. So this tells them, oh, wait, that's maybe how Wings did it. So Wings themselves don't accept this money. They have their studios based in France accept this money. So effectively, to explain the spider web for you guys, Wings Interactive is a studio. Now, remember, if the French government or the Danish government, whoever, is giving money, they're specifically giving money to French companies, right? To French developers because they're trying to develop their industries. Wings can obviously not exist in every country in the world. The same is true for Sweet Baby Inc. They will be registered to a company, either Canada, America, wherever, right? They'll be registered to that company. But then what Wings has is basically small little satellite studios in almost every Western developed nation in the world. And those studios then get the money from the governments for these DI programs. And that money is all funneled then back into the Wings sort of conglomeracy, right? And Wings basically runs all of these different studios. So it makes it look like the modern audience is just a natural progression of what video games is. But really, when you dig into it, even Kim Balair, who is the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc., was a board member on Wings. But Wings and Sweet Baby Inc. does the same thing. The PAL Group has CEOs in the PAL Group, another DI agency. They had people sitting on the board of Sweet Baby Inc. and the board of Wings. So it's sort of like all of these independent diversity studios are all connected in terms of everyone sits on everyone else's boards. And it's basically like, it seems, and this is me speculating. It seems like it's a group of people, let's say 20, 30, maybe at most, who have opened these sort of diversity consultancy firms in every country, every rich country in the world, so that they can get money from every rich country's government in the world to fund their diversity efforts. But if you look at the diversity efforts that they actually end up funding, because here's where things get, and you mentioned this before we even started work on, it doesn't rise to the level of fraud, because technically they're not defrauding. They are making the games that they're being paid for. But the games are rarely good. And one might actually make the argument that the games don't cost as much as the money that they get. Right? So if they get 90,000, maybe they spend 40,000 making the game, and they pocket 50,000 or 40,000 or 45,000, whatever, right?
One of the biggest things about this whole thing, and I haven't looked too deeply into it, but from the allegations being made here, is that it seems like a lot of the board members in this company are essentially making funding decisions from which they are directly benefiting because they are present in a lot of these companies. So they are, in all essence, granting the decision of these funds to give funds to themselves. So while it's not technically a fraud, it's also not technically that ethical either, assuming once again that all of this research is legitimate and all of this stuff is, because again, like I said, I haven't gone too deeply into it. I don't know, but just like a brief synopsis of what is happening, it's basically a bunch of people that are CEOs on a bunch of companies or on the board of a bunch of companies, and the people in charge get to grant themselves these government funding approvals so that they can work on their own projects. It'd be the same as me going like, oh, I have this company that is built to help content creators, YouTube content creators in Portugal, and we receive government funding because government wants to invest in YouTube content creators in Portugal. And then I would be on the board of that company, and then I would be granting funds to the Rurikon channel because I think that channel is doing a good job representing Portugal in the YouTube.
Yeah, and you're absolutely not unbiased at all, right?
Exactly.
So
you're
just doing it because you are
should just get a couple more funds.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. Fundamentally, it's important. The funding is obviously taxpayer money, right? It's people paying taxes, and your taxes are being funneled into people making games. I'll give you guys a great example. Dustborn is a game that critically failed. It didn't do well at all. I think its max players was something like 87, right? So Dustborn was a critical failure of epic proportions. Guess what? Not a single person from the studio that made it was laid off. the studio is still in existence, still doing its thing. There was never any follow-up articles about this studio at all. All of the media made massive noise about Dustborn coming out, right? They were all pushing it. Every single mainstream truthsayer was out and about just, pushing this game. It's this beautiful narrative game. It's the greatest narrative game ever made. The game flops. Now, if you're a mainstream truthsayer, your job would be to figure out first, why did it flop? And what's happening next? Not a peep. Not a peep.
Yeah, usually
it goes completely
whenever
dead quiet.
And it's like with the wing situation also, usually if you're not in the wrong, then your best interest is to say, no, actually, what this person is alleging is wrong, and here's why. Whereas what they did were just like the meme, the meme with the kid that goes like this and then he just vanishes. It's the same thing. They go like,
they just go. They just scrub everything clean. Let's get out of here. And I think what people need to understand, what's super important here, is it shines a light on maybe anyone who isn't necessarily anti-woke, anyone who doesn't necessarily care. This should at least tell you that what you think you're supporting. So, and I know there's probably a lot of people who go through life looking at all this anti-woke stuff and going, guys, come on. People just want to be represented. People just want to feel like they belong in games. Why are you guys making such a big deal out of this? This tells you that none of this stuff comes from an organic place. These guys aren't making these decisions because people just want to be represented. It's all a big money funnel. And it happens at a massive scale where a handful of people are banking on this. You take someone like Sweet Baby Inc., who's involved with almost every major AAA title on some narrative consultancy bullshit. The games come out, they're narratively terrible, right? So what the hell did this consultant do? Make my game worse? Like, why are you getting a narrative consultant that ruins the narrative of a game, right? When you look at this and you start asking yourself, how are these guys still in business, right? And then you take, for example, myself, who made an entire video after I spoke to a developer that is quite a higher up on a game that is, I told you who this is, but I can't reveal it publicly, but Rurikon knows, high up in a double A studio, sort of, and they were approached, their studio, and they as well, because they're one of the higher ups, by Sweet Baby Inc. Sweet Baby Inc. is not doing narrative direction for companies. They don't consult on narrative. That's not why you go for Sweet Baby Inc. Sweet Baby Inc. gets you funds. You go to Sweet Baby Inc. if you want to fund your game, because they're connected to a lot of funding sources. And this Wings thing sort of reveals how. Right? They're getting the money from governments, and then they can move that money around as it's needed. And they can basically make a lot of money, because remember, the funds don't come free. It's not like Wings gives that money to Sweet Baby Inc. and Sweet Baby Inc. gives that money to Ubisoft, and Ubisoft doesn't have to pay it back. These are loans, right? So we lend you $1 million or $2 million or $5 million or $10 million. You pay us back with interest, and it's not necessarily
government grants, though. They have to pay.
Well, we don't know. You see, that's the whole point. The government grants are free because government don't really care about you paying them back, right? So the grants are just, but we don't really know what happens to the money after the money is granted.
Yeah, I'm
because
just saying
the network is crazy.
That is
right.
That is an allegation that you're making, that they have to pay them back. Like we don't know how that stuff works.
But this is why I said this is my speculation, sort of.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what happens to the money. All of these things seem to be connected in some wild way that we can't figure out.
I'll say that. It is shady as fuck. Like a lot of the
100%.
that is being presented here is super shady. But like I also told you, like, this is something that will require me to do like fucking 200 hours of investigation into before I could like get some proper stance on it, and I'm not doing that work. Fuck that shit.
But you guys you guys are more than welcome to head over to Master of the TDS.
Yeah.
You can head over to Gothic Therapy. That's their channel, literally just Gothic Therapy. And you can go watch their videos. They're usually very good at showing you the sources, showing you the research, showing you all the evidence that they found. So you can go do your own reconnaissance there if you so choose. But we have to include it because obviously Sweet Baby Inc. Has been a thorn in my side, at least for many, 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 many months at this point. On to another company that failed because of Sweet Baby Inc. That's a nice little transition there because...
Did they?
Yes, Sweet Baby Inc. was involved in, what's that bloody game again? Kill the Justice League. Sweet Baby Inc. was a narrative... they were the narrative consultants on Kill the Justice League. Warner Brother Games is in trouble.
Oh, no! Oh, no.
Yeah.
Bro, Batman Arkham stands are going to be mad at me right now, bro. Bro, Batman Arkham's amazing. You're right. It is. But Warner Brothers are fucking scumbags. Like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you one of the reasons why I would love to see Warner Brothers get taken down a peg. Because they patented this little known system called the Nemesis system, and they fucking patented it in a way that nobody else can use it, and fuck them for doing that, okay?
And they don't even use it themselves ever.
And they got rid of the studio that came up with the concept. They got rid of them. Yeah. So it's like, it's just sitting there rotting away like a dragon hoarding its fucking treasure. It's like, bro, fuck off. We could have had better video games if you hadn't patented this technology, bro. So frustrating.
But yeah, so Warner Brothers Studios, and the reason we now know that they're in financial trouble is thanks to Jason Schreier that spoke to a bunch of sources inside the company that revealed, and I think people might underestimate just how big their financial woes actually are. They canceled Hogwarts Legacy's definitive edition that was supposed to come out, as well as an unannounced DLC that they were working on, because they physically don't have the money to continue. And so these things just got cut. Now, there is a little bit of discussion around, do they physically not have enough money to make it? Or apparently, according to some sources, Jason says, the Warner Brothers looked at the DLC that they wanted to launch and said, there's not enough content here based on how much we want to ask for this DLC. So we can't bring out this DLC. So just cancel it. So basically, Hogwarts Legacy, which is the only game that the Warner Brothers have released in the last few years that actually made them any money, because Suicide Squad did not make them any money, or Kill the Justice League, rather, didn't make them any money. Those are dead, right? Hogwarts Legacy, if you released the DLC for Hogwarts Legacy, that shit would have sold.
It would sell gangbusters, absolutely, because that game had a massive following.
Dude, people love that game. I love that game, right? So I would buy that DLC in a heartbeat. The fact that it's being canceled tells you they really don't have the money to gamble, right? They're like, dudes, if we're going to be spending money on anything, and it kind of makes sense because Warner Brothers, the gaming side of it, is still connected to Warner Brothers itself, and life in Hollywood is not going great. Like, Hollywood keeps releasing dud after dud. Snow White and the weird-looking creepy dwarfs were launched not long ago, and that shit was really bombing. But that's Disney. That's not Warner Brothers. But Warner Brothers isn't much better, right? Hollywood is in shambles. So I do think we might be starting to see massive cracks all throughout the entertainment industry, right? If someone like Warner Brother Games are financially troubled, dude, Warner Brothers, how? These guys are massive.
Because they've made bad decisions. That's how. It's like, it's one of those situations where the companies, the gaming industry is just gambling everything away on like one or two titles rather than spreading their risk across multiple titles. And because they're gambling everything away on a couple of titles, they're kind of dicking themselves over.
But it's so wild, man. Okay, never mind. That's the story. That's literally all we know. They're in financial troubles. Will they go bankrupt? I highly doubt it. It's Warner Brothers. They'll probably be able to get a bailout somewhere.
Ubisoft has shown everybody the way. You just open up a subsidiary and you just funnel all of your assets through there. Tencent will cut you in or whatever. And they just
call it Warner Sisters, and there you go. You know, you've got yourself a nice new company. You know, I don't know, like something else. You know?
Bro, what the
Warner
fuck?
Cousins.
Warner Sisters.
Like, you know, you've got cousins, nieces, nephews. Like, there's a couple of subsidiaries nephews. There.
It's the Warner family logo, and then there's Warner Brothers, there's Warner's sisters, Warner's cousins, Warner's children. It just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, 20 years from now, when me and Rurikon is celebrating the 20 years anniversary of Mythic Banter,
Warner's grandchildren.
Yeah, we're sitting here going. And in other news, guys, Warner grandchildren has just announced bankruptcy. But
like how many levels
they have announced that there's a new subsidiary being spun off. It is Warner's stepsisters.
Stepsisters. No, it's Warner's great grandchildren because it just keeps going down.
Yeah. And once they're run with, like, once the direct family is gone, then it's stepsisters and stepbrothers and
Warner's
stepnieces
friends. Warner's close friends, Warner's acquaintances,
neighborhood,
Warner's neighbors. Yeah, it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah,
the Ubisoft way, you know. Yeah. Like everybody's gonna have a subsidiary now. But here's the funny thing: I predict that like 2-3 years from now, we will have seen at least one other, if not two other, gaming companies do that. Oh yeah, we're just gonna
I'm willing to accept
subsidiary. 100%. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm willing to accept
that shit. And Tencent's going to be there all the time, taking their
Tencent and Eddies.
Tencent and Eddies are going to be in there collecting their cut. They're like, oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be loving that shit. But okay, so away from Western studios that are basically killing itself for no reason whatsoever, we have to talk about actual successful developers. Japanese gaming is set to overtake Western game development because they keep killing it. As the West still doesn't know exactly what the hell is a game, can we even know what a game is? Japan is just going, well, bro, we've got this. We can make games all day long. Yep. You know, and they keep just doing it for cheaper, with fewer developers, only asking $70 and not having to figure out how to fleece their customers for everything they've got. And you're just like, well, how the hell is this happening? Japan, dude, I remember when we in the West used to laugh at Eastern developers, where they were sort of the laughing stock of the gaming industry because they just could never get it right. They would have to do mostly just these gacha games that no one really wanted to play. They kept trying to make break-ins into the Western audience with stuff like Aeon Online. The people very quickly realized that is actually bullshit. And now, right, you hear a game comes out from China, Japan, or South Korea, you're like,
ooh, what's that
one?
What
do you got there? Is that a new game? You know, it's like that meme from Dave Chappelle with the cocaine around his mouth, and you're just like, is that a new game? Give me it. Like, let me get a little of that.
I mean, just off the top of my head, we have examples like Lies of P, Black Myth Wukong, more recently, First Berserker Kazan. Now we even have the guys who developed Black Desert Online. They're also coming out with another game this year that I'm super excited to check out. I got to play it at Gamescom, which is Crimson Desert.
Looking forward to that as well. That
absolutely phenomenal. From what I've played of it, the combat feels freaking fantastic. There's another one that I think is also coming out from China, which is Phantom Blade Zero, which I also played. And I'm sure that, you know, this is just like, again, these are examples I'm pulling off just off the top of my mind. And these are all like top tier games that are coming from, these aren't even from Japan. Some of them might be. But a lot of these are actually like from Korean studios, Chinese studios, all of that stuff. But yeah, dude, like over there in Asia, they're just like, yep, we're gonna make out banger games and we're gonna pump them out. And a lot of the games that I end up playing on the channel end up being more from that.
Yeah, I mean, myself, I have pretty much exclusively moved to indie. It is rare that I play a AAA title these days.
Indie and AA have a lot to offer still. Like, Wayfinder was great, even though that game is very underrated because of the way in which it released as a live service. I still have to play it. That fumbled, but yeah. So Wayfinder, in my opinion, fantastic game. There was another one, Remnant. Remnant's another one from the AA, which is absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, you have Frostpunk 2, Frostpunk 1. You have so many great AA studios.
And you have another one that's coming out soon, which is the Clair Obscure Expedition 33, which I'm
mega hyped for that.
Looks phenomenal. I actually have the preview version. I haven't gotten around to play it. I need to play that thing.
Oh yeah. Dune Awakening coming out. That looks like another decent game, also from a Western studio. But again, it is an MMO, but it is more almost AA, borderline AAA. Dune Awakening, the MMO, looks good, but it really does show you the talent is still there. The West has the talent. It just seems like the talent is now in the AA space because the greed is in the AAA space.
Yep.
And the AAA is just trying to monetize greed when you have the exact opposite happening in the East, where Eastern developers, who used to be the greedy bastards, by the way, are the ones now saying, oh, turns out single-player games for $60 a game makes money.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Who knew? That's crazy. That's insane.
You know, Black Myth Wukong comes out, smashes it. That was just $70, I think. Stellar Blade comes out, smashes it. Another $70 title.
Yeah, Stellar Blade. That's
turns out if you literally just make a good game, charge a base price for it, you'll make money off of it, right?
Yep.
But the West doesn't know how to do that, so they make a bad game, charge $90 to $100 for it, and then put a cash shop in it, and then cut most of the content because that will be in the DLC. And before you know it, you end up with a game that's dog poo. I mean, $90, $100 because, you know, that's if you want to play on the day that the game launch. If you're poor, you can pay $70, but then you get to play late. They call it early access. It's not early access. But, you know, that's a whole different windmill for me to tilt at one day. Fundamentally, it's crazy to me how Japan's gaming is exploding, dude.
Yep. It's absolutely insane. Like, obviously,
their stock market is on fire. That's, by the way, what this story is about. It's Japanese, the gaming company stock market that is just blowing out of the water, just month after month of big gains.
Yeah, it's Monster Wilds obviously being a big part of that. They also mention in here Nintendo stock prices are also like, but Nintendo is always like that crazy friggin' outlier, right?
And they just announced the Switch 2. I'm actually surprised that we don't even have that as a topic, because I thought you would have at least had that as a topic. So I didn't even have that as a topic, but I just remembered.
The big news for Switch 2 is going to be next week because they're doing a direct for the Switch 2. So that's
but I know the Switch 2 has been announced. That I know, right? There is a Switch 2 coming, but we knew
anything else about it.
Yeah. We knew that it was coming, but the Nintendo fans are losing their shit over this.
If you want to talk about Nintendo, there is a quick topic that we can bring up that is super important that was revealed yesterday, and I forgot to bring it up, which is
the controller has a C button now.
No, that's not it. Didn't I put?
Because that's what the media was talking about when I looked this morning.
I did put that in there. You just ignored it.
Oh shit! I'm just ignoring things I don't want to talk about. Wow.
You just ignored it, bro. I was like, I could swear I typed this out. There is a topic in there that says Nintendo Switch Direct.
Oh yeah.
Now, the reason I wanted to bring up that Switch Direct is because that was a terrible Direct. That was so bad. Oh my god. That was like
my viewers told me that as well. Like, this was shit.
The thing is, usually whenever I tune into one of these industry events, to me it's like, can I get like 3 games out of there that I'm interested in? That's success. Even if I don't care about all the other ones. In this direct, there was like 1. There was Metroid 4. That was it. That was the one game that I'm interested in. So it's like, ooh, that's rough. But they did have something in there that is a massive W for Nintendo, which is the virtual game card. So how does this work? So you know how when you have a cartridge for the Switch, it's like I can just loan you the cartridge and you can play the game on your console. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So they're doing that, but for virtual games. So it's like games that you get on the store. You get like this virtual game card, and you can send it to somebody, and then 2 weeks later, it returns back to you, or the other person could just return it whenever they want, whatever. But
is there a cooldown?
Not that I'm aware of. So you can just, like, at least they didn't say anything about a cooldown. So you can just, like, you loan the game, then they give it back to you, then you give it to somebody else, then somebody else gives it back to you. So basically, if you own the game, you can loan it to people as if it's a physical game. Naturally, you're not going to be able to play the game while it's loaned out to somebody else, because it works just like a cartridge. But I was like, that's actually really fucking cool. Now, Steam already does this.
Nintendo coming in here with pro-consumer shit. Nintendo coming in here with pro-consumer shit.
Steam already does this, but it's very welcome to see this in the console space, because they're the only ones doing it in the console space as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, well, I can log into your account, I guess, and, you know, do some stuff with that. But in here, it's like, nope, here it's just like a cartridge. You loan it up to people. I was like, that's really cool.
That's pretty cool. And that is actually something that I think more gaming companies should just start doing, right? Because the Steam sharing thing is good. It's the family and friends thing. Basically, that's what family sharing, that they call it. But there are limitations, right? So you can only have a certain amount of people that you're sharing to. And it can be sometimes finagly. Like, I tried to do it with my brother and it just would not work.
Yeah,
but
annoying.
We finally got it fixed. I think
there's a limit of 8 people in this one as well, though. So that might be a thing.
Yeah. Well, 8 people is still good. But what's interesting is this is actually something that I should say for Steam. When I tried to do a family sharing option with my brother, it would only allow it once my brother added an authenticator to his Steam account. Because we couldn't get it to work. I tried to share it with him as much as possible. Would not work. And then eventually I was like, dude, just download the app and just see if that does anything. Maybe you can do it from the app. And he downloaded the app, and I don't know why, but the app told him to add authenticator to his account. So he did it, and boom, it worked. On PC. He didn't do it through the app even. He did it on the PC, except it's
strange. I was able to do that with an account for my kid. That worked. So
I don't know. It just wouldn't work until my brother added the actual authenticator, which I thought was pretty decent, at least from a safety perspective. But okay, so Japanese gaming doing very well, Western gaming doing not so well. Second last topic for the day, and there's really only one game here I think we both would want to talk about. It's the Dreamhaven Showcase.
Yeah.
Which I just need to point out, calling that a showcase is a bit of like, it's playing it fast and loose. Well, just based on the fact that it's the announcement of 3 games, 2 of which we already know about.
Yep.
That's playing it fast and loose with the word showcase. Like, you're really taking it very liberally at that point.
We're announcing multiple games.
Yeah, but we're calling it a showcase. I mean, did you at least see the cinematic for the games?
The Monster Hunter Wilds latest title update thing was a showcase. It was a Monster Hunter Wilds showcase.
Yeah, but at least they announced more than 3 things in that showcase, right?
True.
Whereas this one wasn't really. Yes, it is a showcase, but when I hear showcase, I want to see, like, especially from a publisher, you want to see a bunch of things being announced. Here, one of their games just got an actual launch date. Another one of the games got like an update, I think. And then the third game, if I'm not mistaken, what's the game called again? Hold up. I'm just quickly going to look at my notes here.
Let me see. Do I have it here? I do not. Let me.
Here we go. Yeah, I have it in front of me now. So you have Wildgate that was announced by Moonshot Games. Then you have Thunderfolk, which gets a release date. Thunderfolk, I genuinely am not excited for. And the reason I'm not excited for Thunderfolk, it's a mobile game, but not in the way that we would think of mobile games. Because you can play, I think, on PC, but you have to use your phone let's see, up to 4 players assume the role of heroes, peaceful village, encroaching corruption, using their phones or tablets as controllers. So it's like the wildest idea ever. And it's like, dude, why not just make a PC game? Like, come on. Why not just make a bloody PC game and stop this bullshit? Like, why do we have to keep doing this nonsense? And then Linked Banner of the Spark goes 1.0 this May. Another game that no one has ever heard of before, at least I haven't.
No, we've heard about this. We've covered it.
Linked Banner of the Spark?
Yeah, we've covered it. It's that action RPG that they've been working on.
I covered this? I don't even remember. I think I blocked it out.
We covered it in the podcast a while ago, yeah, I think.
Okay, I completely forgot about this. I'm reading it now, and nothing here stands out as something that I know about. But it does say this action RPG can be played solo or in co-op and combines roguelike progression with cozy city building.
Yeah.
Wait, city building?
Yeah, we did.
I'm
talk
interested
about this,
now,
dude. Yeah, if you
I just became
look at
interested
trailer,
because it's city building.
You can kind of see that we've messed around with this. We've talked about it.
Oh, okay. So we did talk about Linked Banner of the Spark. It goes 1.0, so it's already out at the moment.
We also talked about Thunderfolk because it was like a mobile game. You said that you were actually interested right up until it's like, you mean I can't play it with a mouse and keyboard? Screw this. And then the other one...
Wildgate is the newest one. That's just been announced. Now,
that's kind of
did
like
you watch the trailer?
I didn't watch the trailer, but I've been watching like gameplay, which I think is more important, so that I could understand what the game is about.
Yeah.
And this is basically, I think, instanced Sea of Thieves. So whereas Sea of Thieves is like the big open world, this is like Sea of Thieves, except it's matches. So you have teams of crews, which will be on these different ships. And then you have to... Somebody has to fly the ship, somebody has to maintain the ship, then the ships go through combat, then there's also PvE elements, so you can go and collect stuff. Ultimately, the objective is to find the one thing called the artifact, pick that up, and leave the play area. That's the objective. And there's I think 4 teams. Each of them has a spaceship, and each of them is a team of 4 players, and they all have to do stuff like maintain the spaceship, fly the spaceship, shoot
find fuel, find cooling.
You can board the other people's ships and sabotage their ships and blow them up, and you can kill the people that are there.
Attack each other on board the ship.
Yeah,
all sorts of crazy shit.
There's lots. I think that the game is actually going to be very complex, and I think that it sounds interesting, but at the same time, it will require a significant player base to take place in it. And I think it's going to be a hard sell on account of its complexity, because you're going to be expecting people to fly ships, fight other people. And again, I think it's a cool thing that they're taking that chance, but I think it'll be very hard to achieve critical mass for a game like that.
Yes. So the way the ships work as well is you might have one person flying the ship, but you'll have all of your crewmates having to do work on the ship, like firing the guns, firing the weapons, fueling the place, collecting fuel and all the rest of it. The other game that this reminded me of, it is Hunt Showdown in space. Because Hunt Showdown is literally this. You go into this map, you kill a bunch, get the artifact, and then try to escape with the artifact, right? That's literally Hunt Showdown. But it is in space. My issue with this, my big issue with this is, I think this game would have worked better PvE. Yeah. I think the concept would have been much better PvE. The issue I have with this is PvP players tend to value PvP because it's simplistic, easy to get in, and I get to pew people. This adds so much complexity, as you've said, that I can't just tell my buddy, hey, come with me, let's go to Verdansk and shoot a bunch of people in the head. I have to go and tell my buddy, okay, let's go play this game. And now I'm going to run you through the game for hours so that you can learn the basic mechanics of this game and everything we have to do, because you're clearly not going to be able to figure it out on your own. And also, I can't play the game on my own, right? I can't play the game myself. Even if they do claim, well, you don't have to go in with people. If it's max 4-person squads, 1-person squads are not going to survive that, right? They also have the different ships, some bigger ones, some smaller ones. That creates an extra level of balance, because if one ship is just more powerful than the other, then you've created 3 ships for no reason, because everyone's just going to go for the more powerful ships. It creates metas, which again creates issues, because players will oftentimes follow the meta rather. I think there's just so much stuff stacked against this game that I think they've made it unnecessarily hard for themselves to succeed.
Yeah, I don't know. I also agreed that when I first started looking at it, I was like, oh, this would be really cool if it was PvE. But then it's like, it's PvP, so you're not going to be really being able to, I want to take my time. Let's take our time. Let's explore this thing. It's like, no, it's go. We got to pick up the artifact. We got to leave. And there's all these other crews coming at it, which again is just a fundamentally different game than what I would have wanted. But, I'm sure that there will be a community for it. It's just a matter of whether or not it's going to hit critical mass, because that's going to be the hardest thing about it, because just the complexity of you're flying the ship, you're maintaining the ship, you're shooting other people, you're jumping out of the ship, you're attacking somebody else's ship, you're collecting resources, you're fighting monsters. It's like, wow, that's a lot of stuff to keep track of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll give you a good example of how this how I think this game dies, and it's the same way that Hunt Showdown died. Now, I don't mean Hunt Showdown's dead. It's still being played by, it has a very dedicated community, but the reason Hunt Showdown, and this, I have multiple top level first person streamers, including Dr. Disrespect, I think even Summit, and if I'm not mistaken, what's his name? Shroud. They've all said it. If you want the best first person game ever, it's Hunt Showdown. Yet it has never managed to blow up to the levels of any of the other first persons, and here's why. When the game came out, within the first 24 hours, people had figured out a meta that destroyed the entire game. You don't go for the artifact. You wait until someone picks it up, and then you kill them and you take it and you leave the map. So you wait for them to carry the artifact most of the way, then you kill them and you take the artifact and you cross out. Done. That destroyed all of the hard work they did, the monsters that you have to kill to get the artifact, and the clues you have to collect. It was like, nah, fam, I'll just camp the grass, wait for these bastards to think they're home free, headshot, take the shit, get out. And that ruined the game. The game died as soon as it came out. And since then, they've basically just accepted we have this sort of niche community of people that play our game, and that's it. Right? We're never going to be able to make it big again, because the problem with games is once the game goes wrong, it is so difficult to make it go right. Because most players give up and they move on. They start playing something else. They don't really care anymore. So yeah, I think these guys are just opening themselves up for another massive failure. And that's sad, because they even choose a name that isn't necessarily linked to success. You see, because Wild Star was also a game that came out and bombed after about 5 years in active development. So, Wild Gate, that might be following in the Wild Star footsteps. That's then 2 wild things that we should probably not do again. So let's see what happens.
Oh, God.
And then the final one, I'm not going to be talking much because I don't know shit about this update, but I know, Rurikon, you care about this a lot. So, Path of Exile 2. What's this massive update?
Path of Exile 2 is getting a massive update in the form of an expansion they're calling Dawn of the Hunt. This is going to be an optional new league. That is to say that all of the mechanics also come to the existing league, which usually in Path of Exile you need to go to the newest league in order to get all the mechanics. But because this is early access, they're like, okay, if you just want to log in with your old character, test stuff out, you can do that. But they're also making a new league that you can jump into if you want to have that economy reset and make a new character and all of that stuff. And that's going to be the best way to experience all the changes that they've done. There's balance changes across the board. Lots of things were buffed. Lots of things were nerfed. They're not going into specifics on just about every little thing, but they're saying like, listen, we changed everything. Then on top of it, new class added into the game, which is the Huntress class, which comes with 2 ascendancies, which all of the classes currently in the game have 2 ascendancies. On top of that, they're adding 3 more ascendancies to the existing classes. So the warrior is getting like a blacksmith ascendancy.
Wow, so 5 for each.
What do you mean 5
or
for
is it 3 for each?
3 for
you
each.
say 3 more on top of for the old ones. So
One
is it
class,
one more
one class,
for each?
wait, one class with 2 ascendancies, and then 3 more ascendancies for 3 other classes. So it's not like there's 3 more ascendancies total that we're adding.
Okay. I get what you
3
mean.
more
I get
total.
what you mean now.
So the warrior is getting a blacksmith class. The mercenary is getting some type of leadership class, tactician, I think, was the name of the class. And then there's one more, which is a lich, which that probably be up your alley. I think it's from the witch or something.
Yeah, that sounds good.
She gets like a lich type class. And besides this, they're adding 100 more support gems, which is going to be an absolute fucking nightmare to balance because support gems are the reason why the game is so fucking busted. They're changing the way that the endgame map works, which we've always expected that they would. You're going to get portals, which is going to make it easier for you to play through the beginning of the endgame. So in the beginning of the endgame, if you die, you get to retry maps for a little bit. Then eventually when you start juicing up your maps, it goes back to you die once, you lose the map, and that's it. They're changing the way that towers work again. So towers can now have all the mechanics of regular maps, which is a huge improvement because people didn't want it to do towers because they were boring. But on top of it, you're going to have less towers and you're going to be able to juice off of one tower. So you're going to be able to just like, if you run the tower at the appropriate difficulty level, you'll be able to put up to like 3 tablets inside the tower. And that's going to just juice up all the maps around that tower. They're changing the mechanics of how you gain Atlas points, which is you're going to have to go through these corrupted areas, and then you have to destroy the Nexus, and that's how you start getting your Atlas points. But the way in which you destroy the Nexus is going to influence the loot that you get. So if you want to get more uniques, you clear out all of the maps that are corrupted. If you want to get something else, which is like these special upgrade stones or amulets, stuff like that, you're going to have to clear the Nexus as fast as possible, and that will cleanse all the maps around the Nexus, and then you do the cleansed maps, and that's going to give you different rewards. So they're adding a bunch of like stuff that allows you to control how you get loot. On top of it, 100 more unique items, which are going to be mid and end game tier, which is insane. 100 more unique items is going to be absolutely crazy. And just tons and tons more content. No new acts, so no new story. The story is still just like act 1 through 3, and then 1, 2, 3 on, I forget if it's called Nightmare or whatever, the harder difficulty, and then you get to the end game. But yeah, and there's probably even more stuff because there's just so many things added to the game. But yeah, tons and tons of content.
On the story, I do think they said that they purposefully they will only add the last bits of the story once the game goes live. I think they said that at the announcement, like the not this latest one. I'm talking about when they announced that the game is coming out into early access. They said that I think the game has 5 chapters or 6 chapters.
6 chapters.
And there's 3 chapters that will be available during the early access for people to play. And then once the game exits early access, the next 3 chapters will become available.
They didn't specifically said that it's just at the end of early access. So something that they could have done is like add another chapter on this one. They chose not to do that because they haven't made up their mind if they want to be adding chapters like that or if they just want to add the other 3 chapters all in one go. But I do think that that is on the table if they want to do that. But for now, they're just focusing on, okay, new class, new ascendancies, revamping a lot of stuff in the end game because a lot of things in the end game are changing. It's not just what I said here. There's way more stuff. Yeah. But basically massive amounts of content coming. And you want to know what's the worst part? It comes out exactly the same day as the Title 1 update for Monster Hunter.
Oh, wow. So you're going to be torn between what to play. Well, you're going to play Monster Hunter.
I'm going to play Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to play
PoE2. I just remember them saying, because I watched the video after the fact. I didn't watch it when they were live. But I do remember them saying that this story is going to be finished once the game goes live. And I think the only reason I remember it is I said this is a good idea.
By the time it goes live, it will be finished. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. I personally think it might be that, but I personally think they shouldn't release more chapters. They should wait until the game goes live to release the full story. Sort of like what Baldur's Gate did, where you had this first chapter that you could play through, but you couldn't see the follow-up chapters from that. I feel like that's probably the best thing. This is early access. You're just trying to test stuff out. You don't need to reveal your whole spiel. But maybe they sort of eventually, because the reason you do early access is twofold. One is to be able to test all of your features, but there is another also really good reason, and that is money. Right? It's a good way to get a lot of development funds in. And if you want to get more development funds, just add another chapter. You'll immediately get millions more people that sign up and say, hey, I want to buy this. Because obviously when the game goes live, it's free, right?
It's free.
Yeah.
At the very least, what we can say is that from a gameplay perspective, you have access to everything for 30 bones. There's no pay to win. There's, as far as I can identify, there's nothing of that in the things. I ended up paying 100 because I think that they're doing a fantastic job with that game. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I personally, it depends, right? Because from their perspective, they might be thinking, we want to create maximum incentive for people to want to play now so that we get the $30. And I don't begrudge them that. Because, guys, I'm not one of those people. We complain a lot about monetization on this channel. But I'm not one of those people that don't want game developers to make money. I want them to make all the money in the world if their games are worth that money. I have no problem. If you want to charge... Like, look, I'll say something that's super unpopular. I don't even care if you want to charge $100 for a game. But then your game has to be worth $100. I don't want to play a game that is Dragon Age the Veilguard for $100 bloody dollars. That's not worth it, right?
So, and on the topic of them making money and all that, they specifically said, listen, this is early access. You don't have to play it. They go out of their way to say, like, listen, you don't have to play it. As a matter of fact, they were surprised at how many people jumped in on the early access because it was like their most successful launch ever or whatever. And they're just like, oh, this is a problem because the servers exploded.
Dude, but they're really good guys. I watched an interview with the head of Grinding Gear Games, and I read an interview. Sorry, not watched. I read an interview with him where the journalist asks him, "Are you worried about the competition within the ARPG market with so many new ARPGs coming out?" And he's like, "No, not at all. As long as players, once a season jump in and play for a month, we're happy. People should be playing games that they want to play." And I'm like, bro, based. See, because that's how you make your game. You make
don't force
your game.
People to play it.
Yeah, you make your game in such a way that they don't want to play the other ARPGs. You don't make it so that they can't play the other ARPGs. That's how it works, right? Technically, it all boils down to the same thing. Because I think, I know people keep trying to prop up Diablo 4. Guys, I have a feeling that game's not going to be around for a long time. It's going to go into maintenance mode probably sooner than people think.
Diablo 4 does absolutely nothing that can stand up to Path of Exile 2. And I know that some people disagree, but listen, I'm talking as a massive Diablo fanboy. is like, no, I'm sorry, no, there's just nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think I don't think Diablo has the ability to do anything that Path of Exile does. As I've said before. Sorry?
They're just more agile. They're able to turn stuff around and figure out what people want and whatnot, and just...
They're more agile, and I think they scratch the itch that ARPG players want. Because don't ask me how the hell I got onto this video, because I don't watch Diablo 2 content. But I discovered this video of a guy that's doing a Diablo 2 run, full agility build. Can't spend anything on anything else, just agility. And I'm looking at this game, that's Diablo 2, by the way. We're talking about a super old game. I'm like, dude, if you took away the names, and you showed me that game, and then you showed me Diablo 4, took away the names, I wouldn't be able to tell that Diablo 4 is related to Diablo 2.
Yeah.
But if you showed me that game and you showed me Path of Exile 2, I'd be like, oh yeah, this looks like, in other words, this is the number 3 or 4 of this game.
Yeah.
Right?
Because that is their inspiration. They were inspiring Diablo 2.
Yeah, it's the evolution, the natural evolution of what Diablo 2 was. Diablo 4 is, let's see if we can make a looter shooter, but with magic and shit. It's like, okay, cool. It's fine.
That is pretty much it. See if we can make a looter shooter, but with magic and shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, it is absolutely ridiculous, but we are where we are. Life is what it is. And we are at the end of the show, 3.5 hours later.
God damn.
Bro, we're coming up on that 4-hour mark.
No,
we are.
No. Listen, this is already way too much of an investment of my Friday mornings, all right? And it can't go much higher.
Dude, I'm with you. I should have started streaming an hour and a half ago already.
God damn it.
Like, I'm already an hour and a half late for my own stream.
It's your fault. I don't know why, but it's your fault.
Wow. It's the gaming industry's fault because there's so much bloody news happening the whole time.
Yeah.
They should just do, like, we should have a cap of like 3 stories a week. Not us, but the gaming industry. There may not be more than 3 things that happen in the gaming industry in a week.
Agreed.
To make it easy for podcasters to actually cover the shit that happens in the gaming industry. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and Rurikon for another episode of the Mythic Banter. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other. Rurikon, thank you so much for joining once again. We'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.